It's not time yet, but I just want to make sure. Hi, Rod. Oh, yeah. Okay, I'd like to call the regular meeting of the Paradise Irrigation District to order on November the 19th at 6:30 p.m. Please stand with me and pledge allegiance to our flag. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Yes. That's better.
Tone it down or no?
You feel the middle one would help.
Feel the middle one? Yeah, that's okay. Okay. First item on the agenda is roll call, please.
Director Corolla?
Here.
Vice President Arnold?
Here.
President Duncan?
Here.
Director Fletcher?
Here.
Director Kellogg?
Here.
Okay. Next item is the approval of the consent calendar. Does anyone wish to remove anything from it before we vote on it?
Yes, Mr. President, I need to get some clarification on item B.
B, okay. Anybody else? I'd entertain a motion.
I'll make a motion to approve the consent calendar as presented with the removal of item B for informational purposes.
Is there a second?
Second.
Been moved and seconded. All those, there's nothing on here. All those in favor, say aye.
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 Any opposed? Passes 5-0. Okay, let's do B then. Give that to you, Doug.
Yes, thank you. I just wanted to get clarification from Dustin. That property, 4875, owned by the Penningtons, I should say, was originally family property of mine, ours. You know, I grew up on that piece of property. And we sold it in 63. It's gone through 2 or 3 hands, but we were the original ones that established this agreement with PID. And how it came about, that's where I learned on my welding. We installed a pipe from where that property line's at down there in the corner, where my property line's at, because we still own the 12 acres above that. Clear up to the top of the hill behind Big Sky and hooked onto a PID pipe up there. And myself and another person did all the welding on the pipe, so that's where I got started on that. And I just wanted, before I vote on that, I wanted to make sure that even though it's gone through 3 different hands, there's
no conflict. You don't have an ownership interest. Yeah, that's.
I just
no
wanted
conflict.
to make sure though, because we were the ones that got the surplus contract installed. And it was
That
not an
was-
easy thing to do.
That was in.
63.
About 50 or 51. 50, I think it was.
50 goes back that far.
Okay.
Yeah, so I could tell. It's funny you pulled this from the consent. George and I were talking about this. You could tell first party, second party. That language was used in the 50s and 60s, so you could tell this is an old agreement.
We had it in, I think it was 50, because I went to service in 51 and we'd already installed it. It may have been at the end of 49, because I was just a youngster at the time, 16, 17.
I think we need to. I'm not suggesting not voting on this tonight or not approving it, but I think maybe this time next year, between now and next year, we need to delve into this a little more. Why are we doing annual agreements as opposed to a multi-year agreement or making them customers? What kind of impediments are there?
This, when we did it, we had a multi-year agreement, as I remember, as best I can remember back then, because my mom and uncle, who were also the key people, but I just wanted to make sure that in case, get it out on the table and, I've had nothing to do with the property other than for payments for a while they paid us off a long time ago, since 63. I don't know if Ron was acquainted with that or not. That was before you went in the real estate business. 63, yeah.
Yeah. Were you born in 63? Okay. Yeah, okay. You look so much younger
I just
than
wanted to
me.
make sure that that was out so that there was, if there was a problem.
The other question, if that's brought up too, though, if this were to come before us now, we would have to get approval from LAFCO. But because this is an old thing,
Well,
I wonder if
we'd have to get some clarification from LAFCO because this service predated LAFCO.
right.
So whether it even falls under their jurisdiction or not would be a question we'd have to.
That's what I would
answer.
suggest, right. Because it is, I know LAFCO's changed a lot in the last 10 years, but I know that nowadays you would have to get permission from LAFCO to put your services outside of your entity.
I suspect there was water right reasons why they did this by agreement and not treating them as a typical customer.
How far are they from our borderline?
They're not too far. Pretty
But
close.
is there anybody between them? Contingent?
I think they're both contiguous,
Oh, okay, so
But,
right at the edge.
are they right on the edge of paradise? The town
yeah,
of
it's right,
Paradise?
right on the
Okay,
southernmost part. That what they did, I can remember this because I helped them install it. I think Ali was the engineer at the time. Maybe not, but he had a lot to do with it. What we did is we put our meter in that we have today, you know, the original one. And then we came off of it with a smaller meter to go to the property that you're talking about here. And they'd read two of them and take it. We were all paid by the same thing anyway, so it didn't make any difference to us. But we paid a higher rate on the meter for the property south of the property line that this is isolating. Now, the other party, which I have here somewhere, I know nothing about that piece of property.
do they pay a different rate?
Yes, they do.
Okay, I thought they did, right. So we'd have to do a 215 on that if we're gonna, no, if you reduce your revenue.
That's the marijuana card.
Yeah, not 215.
218.
218.
Our
218, yeah. Okay, I'll entertain a motion.
I'll make a motion to approve item B from the consent calendar.
I'll second that.
Been moved and seconded. Any further discussion? Anyone from the audience? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Passes 5-0. Next item is public participation. Individuals will be given an opportunity to address the board regarding matters not scheduled on the agenda, although the board cannot take action on any matter not on the agenda. Comments will be limited to 5 minutes per speaker. Opportunity for public comment on agenda items will be provided at the time they are discussed by the board, with comments limited to 5 minutes per agenda item. Is there anyone in the public that would like to speak? Please come forward and identify yourself.
Oh, good. Then somebody will shoot. John Remalia, property owner here in Paradise, and also a principal in a new company in town called Advanced Septic Solutions. Something interesting that just came up, and I'll talk to one part of it a little bit later in the agenda, but I just spent the last 10 days in Denver at the on-site water recycling convention. And one of the things that I was looking at, we'll talk about later, but the other that I saw was a lot of even the big pipe and municipal sewer systems, because of cost issues and extending pipes and everything else, are doing successfully and service better than what the private enterprise can do, and that's where government belongs, is where they can do it better. They are doing maintenance and operations of cluster wastewater treatment plants. With the regulations that's changed in California on June 3rd of this year, that water can be used as recycled water for spray irrigation anywhere but where food is consumed. Ball fields, parks, yards. You guys got a water shortage. If you, I don't know what the numbers are, whether it's 1%, 5%, or 10%, what your winter flows and summer flows, your differences are. But that might be something with certain systems, certain manufacturers of systems that are simple and easy to maintain and cheap that this board might want to look at. I can give you an example in Hamilton County Metropolitan in Cincinnati. They have an area where they've collected bond money for many years, and it's somewhere in the ballpark of about almost 20,000 home sites that were approved and never developed. Well, they're starting to develop now, and it was going to cost them between $65,000 and $100,000 just for line extensions to get to them, and they guaranteed them service. And what Hamilton County Metropolitan Wastewater has found is with their buying power and with their expertise that they already have, and taking the sharp elbows out of the private enterprise, that they are able to charge less money for those private systems than what they charge their big pipe customers if it was per individual, but they're charging like and similar. So this is something down the road, once we get through a couple of the hurdles that's going on right now, that I think we might want to look at, because the other thing that I learned is exporting water out of a direct watershed up here and running a pipe to Chico when there is a potential for reuse up here. Every governmental entity is starting to say no. And as it went to the point in Aspen Park, Colorado, just outside of Denver, where the regional board mandated them to hook up to the regional sewer system, and the regional sewer system didn't want them to, and the administrative courts for the EPA and the federal courts said, if they don't want to take you, they don't have to. But I think this is something that at least deserves a look at, because from what I've seen at the management at Paradise and some of the decisions, and we were in meetings all morning this morning, I think you guys could do a better job. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, anyone else? Seeing none, we'll go on to item 4, which is old business, continued from the...
Mr. President,
Oh, yes.
can we jump to 5A so that Mr. Knopf can be
Oh,
on his way?
sure. Okay, we will do that. Okay, 5A, district-owned property, Clark Road, Frontage, Manager Barber.
As I mentioned before, we're losing our 3-year lease is coming up. That person at the old flower shop is now the lawyer, is moving on in March. So I thought it was appropriate for the board to decide whether they wanted to continue being a landlord or put the property up for sale. So I asked Ron to take a look at it. I believe you got a copy of this out there. It's got some of his information, and with that, I'll turn it over to him. Let him tell you what he thinks.
Okay, well, if you look at the package, it outlines a bunch of the properties that are somewhat similar that are either listed currently or sold in the last year, starting with the one that Big Five built on over on Skyway, which is at the top last paper, and the second property is one down across from the Paradise Post, which is at the low end per footage value. I guess if George wanted my opinion, it pretty much sums up to on the last paragraph where it says there have been some recent activity in the sales of existing commercial buildings. New construction has been limited, and therefore there's not been an upward pressure on vacant land sales. My opinion, I guess, is this isn't the best time to sell the property unless you have to. You're pulling in $1,400 to $1,500 a month off from it.
What about the one up, the Dollar General, that property? That didn't sell?
That one sold. I didn't use that one just because of the location, right next to Kmart.
Is that This is better location.
Sound like a cellar.
Yeah, sound like a seller. I know, like that.
There was one that was fairly comparable right above Billy. That's an odd-shaped parcel that's been listed for about 800 days at $4 and something a foot.
Right. Okay.
Ron?
Yes.
Questions?
Yeah. This dog leg that actually picks up part of the yard's property on the map, on the front page. Can we do a line correction or something and put that with the yard's property?
You could.
I think that would be a good idea before we consider selling it.
You could do a boundary line on that.
Mr. President, Ron and I talked about that. The reason we did not make that adjustment is because that possibly could get a retaining wall put in if a future commercial endeavor needed that part to bring in to their parking lot, needed that access point and swing wide enough. So that's why it's been left there. It's more, they could use the space. It would cost them money to build a retaining wall to use it, but that's why we didn't make the lot line adjustment, because then they really don't have that choice unless they end up buying it back from us.
I was just looking at it and think we have to maintain
We won't have to if we
the
sell it.
landscaping, and it's quite a angle of a bluff coming down there. What is that, 20% almost?
1.5 to 1.
George's proposal, remember, is that you would retain an easement for that area,
Yeah.
We don't use it for anything, do we?
just landscaping.
Yeah, we
Which is
just
the
landscaped the
liability.
screen in there. Yeah.
You know?
How far down is the town coming with their one-lane project that they're running down here, the same as what they did on Skyway?
I have no
They
idea.
just approved.
I have no idea.
I mean, because that's gonna be a big thing at that corner there, whether they do limited
Yeah.
access.
We don't want the public to talk except when they're up at the podium, please.
George, what's our monthly expenditures on the building? I mean, I can't imagine they're too much.
It's up and
Let's make-
down.
let's make a maintenance.
We had some issues on the house, and it really depends on the renter. Right now, we've got a renter that's pretty low maintenance, and so it's not a problem. We get $625 for the house.
That renter has no intention of leaving at this point.
No. So, I mean, it's really easy to burn up 600 in one incident.
Yeah.
But if it goes along, fine, we're okay.
Yeah, exactly.
What are we getting on?
Did you have any more questions of Ron?
I do not. I
Anybody?
think
Thank you very
Ron
much.
summed it up the way we were thinking.
If you want, in case he wants to leave, I was going to let him.
Thank you.
Thank
Thank you, Rod.
Thanks, Ron. Have a
Thank
good
you.
night.
Very much.
Okay, and now questions of staff. Does anyone have any?
What's the commercial building rental that we're getting now?
$850? $850, I think. Yeah.
Anyone from the public wish to speak to this item?
You can always sell it to them later and get more money if you keep it now, because God only knows what the good town's gonna do with a traffic plan.
Okay, from now on, come up here, please. See, it's because it doesn't get recorded when you're,
With what has been passed at town council, they have approved the engineering for taking a section of Clark and doing identical to what they've done to Skyway. They have been, quote up, I don't know what it means, but pre-approved on a grant to do it. I don't know how far down this way it's going to go, but if one of the things that they're trying to do with that was they were trying to eliminate turns in and out. And in fact, in 2 locations, from what I understand, they actually said, this curb cut's going away. So if you keep it and they want to develop it later and use that as an access going out the other side, it's just a way to generate more revenue in the future. But I mean, that's just something to think about, and somebody maybe needs to look at what the town has drawn up there to see how it affects this. Thank you.
any questions? No, he's just playing with the camera.
I realize that.
Did you want any questions?
Yeah,
of
I had a
staff?
question. It's, third paragraph down sentence. Staff recommendation that the property be put up to market at this time. You figure it's going to be worth as much as it's ever going to be, or is it an additional chore to take care of it, for the lack of a better word, or what?
Well, I think Kevin and I's initial was, we don't really want to be in the property management business, but after talking to Ron and the values, you know, we're aligning with him. It's probably better to just keep renting them.
What do you think we have in that piece of property? I realize it was purchased all as one and that, but what do you think we have in it? Wild guess?
It's hard to tell because we don't know how much we would have paid for that parcel up there, so, because they're all purchased in one.
What did we pay for the whole thing?
$750.
$750,
Same as here. Okay.
That didn't include this building.
plus the trade,
700 here.
with the trade, less the trade, I mean, excuse me.
So we sold the old for $350, bought this for $7.
So, about 400,000. Yeah, exactly. I'm just gonna move to authorize the general manager to execute an agreement with CB Properties for leasing services.
I'll second it. Any discussion? Anyone from the audience? Although, you understand the motion?
Oh, I don't. I didn't.
We're not going to sell it, we're going to rent it.
Okay.
Okay. All those in favor?
I have discussion.
Okay.
Is that going to be at the same terms we have with them now? Or are we giving you authorization to cut whatever deal we need to cut?
Well, the only agreement with CB Properties is to market it, so we pay 2 months lease value to them.
Okay.
When they find a renter, but when they find somebody, those terms will come back to you. If they find somebody that
For a
wants to
dollar,
lease it,
for the dollar amount of rental.
I'm not authorized to sign a lease with anybody new.
Do you guys want to keep the price the same?
Well,
I'd like it.
I'd have them make a determination on it.
what I
That
want
sounds,
to do is to find out whether we're going to get out from underneath the day-to-day management and say negotiate a deal with CB Properties to be the property manager, and then just come back to George if there's any large issues. But that way you and Kevin wouldn't have to deal with it, and you can focus on your real job.
But just to be clear, that's the relationship we have with them on the house rental.
Yes.
We get called in to do the repairs, but they're the property manager.
Mm-hmm.
The other one, because it was a newer building and had less issues, we've been okay with managing that property.
Seems like we should just have him manage both of them. That's what I would say. And
When they find a potential, they'll do either option. We'll bring that to you for consideration, and we'll know what the cost is at that point.
Yeah, that would.
primary thing at this point is finding a renter.
Goes on quite a bit.
Question?
Yes? Oh, you're asking for it. Okay, all those in favor, say
well,
aye.
excuse me, if we're going to do this right, we have to vote on
I
whether
know.
we're calling for the question.
Okay, let's do it right.
Yeah,
All those in favor of the question, say aye. Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Passes 5-0. Okay, now we'll have, now we'll call for the regular vote, since I already did.
record.
All those in favor, say aye.
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 For the record, Mr. President, you only have to vote on it if it's moved as the previous question. Not if it's a question.
Oh, just to say question? I thought you had to, I thought if you called for the question. it
Only
had to be
if it's the previous one.
Okay, I didn't know that. Okay. So it passes 5-0.
I don't know what that means, but it doesn't sound right.
Right, I know. Okay, let's go back. Is there anybody else here in the audience that we need to take care of?
I don't think, not that I'm aware of.
Okay, then we'll go to the old business. This is Manager Barber.
Well, you have the written memo I sent out earlier in the month, the copies, so you had more time to work on them. There was no major changes except for item 7.9. legal counsel's provided a few more words, and that's been handed out to you, I believe. Beyond that, I'm open to committee talking about it or any questions you have.
Can you read that adjustment that's on paragraph 5, the handwritten, and if the district determines that an adjustment is appropriate?
Sure,
Reasonable?
and if the district determines that an adjustment is appropriate and reasonable under the circumstances receiving
Okay,
it.
I just want to make sure I was reading the right word. Promising career as a doctor.
Now, to be blunt, we're making sure we've got enough leeway, so when somebody fills their pool, they're gonna have to prove that it was a leak, and then that they didn't just fill their pool.
Yeah.
So we need enough leeway to be able to question people and their repair.
Absolutely.
What's this, I read something about, what's this newspaper item?
I can talk to that.
Yeah. But isn't that going to change, could change something that in the corrections?
This one.
Spending forks in the road?
Yeah, Director Flesher asked for an agenda item, which actually was this agenda item, so that's why that's in there, so that's for him to,
Right, okay, that's what I wanted to,
sorry.
that's okay. We'll take, you can tell us about your,
Okay, we're talking about page iPad 27, 8 and 9. The reason I put those two in on page 28 is the thing that I put together for the September 17th board meeting. And that was the spending forks of the road. And the bottom thing is they're all travel in excess of $1,000 for PID staff and directors would be approved by the board of directors at a regular meeting. And on the 20th of September is when Rick Silva put this newspaper article in here that you have. So I doubt that Rick Silva is taking my advice on this or not, but on the bottom paragraph, it basically is what he's saying in the title here, and you can see it. Have they got it up on the wall? Okay. Local elected officials create their own trouble. And maybe you do or do not remember when we were going through that type of a situation and having some words here, and we didn't know what's going on. So on 11/11, and maybe that's the wrong place to have it, but when I went through this thing, and I did really pursue this policy things, I still feel that all travel expenses in excess of $1,000 for all staff, including board of directors, should be presented to the district board and approved. Now, Silva here suggested it go on the consent agenda, and I have no problem with that. And the whole secret of the thing is, for transparency, I've had several people, and some of them are pretty influential type of people, were saying that apparently the management feels that the board doesn't need to know what they're doing until after they get back and then give us a report, and that's kind of nice that they do that type of thing. Now, I'm not suggesting that we change the budget. What I'm saying is that we put it in, and so we get it. Now, I asked Kevin when we were in this discussion in September, whatever it was, and you said you'd never applied. But I knew that you had because I heard it. And here's the what. Now, in today's for what? The travel. And you have presented that before, and I thought we approved it, which we're going to do. But in today's agenda, on page 128, go to 128, you have down here future traveling, or training, you want to call it. Now, I love to go to meetings. Just came from one across the street, as a matter of fact. And I get a lot out of them. And if the budget is in good shape and all of that, I would like to go to Monterey this very next year. Love Monterey. Been to many meetings in a lot of Monterey. Well, anyway, and Kevin, you stated here that November 18th and December 15th and 29th, you had those meetings, you see. So I cannot understand why, in the sake of transparency, that we're infringing on anybody's benefit if they know that they're going to go on a trip. but they cannot apply or put it in so that we know what's going on instead of waiting until you get back and then have a report. That's just mine. I've been both ways, and the way that generally works better with the public is if you keep it on top of the table, and because there was 2 months there, in the eyes of the public, including Rick Silva, the board was kept in the dark. Because we didn't know, including the president of the board, that you two guys were going to Spanner Springs until it was brought out, you know. Now, I'm not criticizing anybody. I'm just saying, let's get it out on the table. And if anything, I'd like to create more money to go. Because I've traveled all over the United States on somebody else's quarter. And I think I've always brought back more to make the quarter back that they spent on me. But anyway, so that's what I'd like. So I'd like to change that 11.11 to the statement that I put here, or whatever would be legal.
Well,
Most of the traveling that people do is for less than $1,000. George and the chief financial officer in his absence would have carte blanche. There would be nothing said about it. Hopefully you would get a report. When I traveled down to Sacramento with Jim on this water treatment thing, I gave a report when I got back, and it was a very eye-opener. And I think it was also an eye-opener for Joe Hogg from CE Com, because he went with us, and there was some stuff there he learned. But he and I have talked about it afterwards. But anyway.
Okay.
I can't see how we're infringing on anybody's rights or privileges or whatever it is.
Well, anybody else wishes to speak to this item?
No. I'd
So
like
what
to
did-
make
I-
a motion to that.
Well, wait, we're not ready yet. We want everyone to put in their thing.
Well, it's backwards when you do that.
Where's the part that Doug wants to put in there? Can you,
It's the top paragraph.
okay.
All travel expenses in excess of $1,000 for all staff, including board of directors, will be submitted request to the district board for approval. Travel costing $1,000 or less will be approved by the general manager or chief financial officer in his absence.
And what we have in there right now is set at budget limits,
Nobody,
is approval limits.
Yeah.
But budget is, yeah, the budgeted amount
and
to the board, exactly.
now there are other places through the different reports that I know Kevin, because he said he was trying to be transparent. And on 128 again, future trading, you are trying to be transparent.
Absolutely.
You know.
And last,
But on the thing we were talking about that brought this article from Rick Silva and myself, transparency went by the boards. You will agree with me on that. In the eyes of the public.
No.
In the eyes of the public.
yeah, we disagree with you on that.
I'm going to disagree with you on that one. I don't think that there was and I've spoken this over and over, and I will continue to speak this over.
I don't want to argue about it, but this would be the proper way to do it
If that's
and
the
keep
board's-
complete
if that's the board's
transparency.
decision, then I have no problem with that. I'm saying that the past perception was not what we were trying to do. There was never a thought of hiding any type of travel. There's not one thought of hiding one expense in this district or in this. Doesn't matter if it's pencils or if it's a generator that costs $100,000.
I understand that, Kevin, and I agree with you completely. I have the utmost respect for everybody in the district. I've had that for George when he was a teenager. He was an extremely bright young man and on his trail to do a hell of a job as an adult, and you're doing that, George, so I might add. And I watched him grow up. But anyway, getting back to Rick Perry's comments on here, local elected officials create their own troubles. And boy, we were creating a bunch of troubles for us in that one. Whether it was misconceived or whatever it was. So let's get it out so it's not going to be misconceived anymore. And this motion that I'm presenting would solve that problem.
But it's not what Rick recommended, though.
Not at all.
No, it is. It's legal. But
Read the last paragraph.
No, he didn't. He recommended that we don't.
No. You're not reading it right.
It doesn't really matter what Rick Silva
right.
recommends.
I understand that
Let's-
completely.
I'm going to say, you've made that statement. I'll give you my opinion about it.
Good.
I think it's a waste of time. We can budget for this. They can travel. They report. If you want to know in advance, 1 or 2 or 3 months, There's no problem. We can always bring up an anticipated travel and education and seminar schedule, whether it's for a board member, whether it's for staff management, or whether it's for an employee that's a customer service representative taking a particular class to learn some skills. We don't have to vote on this stuff as a board every time somebody needs to spend more than $1,000. It is a waste of our time and effort. Let the managers manage. We trained our people. This is the way we've been operating for many years. We haven't had any problems. And that's my opinion about it. Transparency doesn't necessarily mean that we have to vote on each one of these things, just like Kevin put in his report. Just for the information, this is where I'm going to be going here in the next couple of months. We can do that whenever we decide. For example, I could have, when I guess this came to my attention in July, I could have reported to the board or made a statement or something, or when I expressed interest to the staff that I was going to go, it's within the budget, then they would put it in their report. And then Director Hunt's going to be going to this training seminar come the end of September. We can put that in. That will help with the transparency issue if you're concerned about that. But I don't think we need to waste our time with voting every time there's going to be more than $1,000 spent in a travel policy plan.
It would take 2 minutes of our time to approve those type of things.
2 minutes how many times during the year?
12
No.
board meetings. We have 12 board meetings a year.
There's going to be a lot of people traveling, different times. Each one we're going to have to discuss, because if we don't treat each one of those requests over $1,000 the same and discuss it and give it its due time, then we're going to be accused of sliding some through and stopping others. It's a waste of our time.
Okay. Did you want to say anything, Seth?
I just can't think of a time in the past 5 years that I've been on the board that we haven't had a report from. Jason went to school and I think SCADA, and you did some SCADA training. You even came in and gave a report the next time we saw you on that.
Corrosion.
What was that?
Corrosion.
Corrosion. Is that what it was, the training that you went to? I thought you did some SCADA training too.
How's Jeremy?
That was at Jeremy? Okay. Okay. So the other day. Yeah. Okay. So I got my treatment plant people mixed up. But George and Kevin and anybody else that's gone for some type of training is always giving some type of report. So I'm kind of with Director Hunt on this, that I don't think we need to micromanage George's job of approving training. That's just one part of our job description that's not there.
Okay, Bill?
I agree with Doug, and I also want to, since we're not seemingly following any path on this thing, this 2.23 training, where we have the suggestion that the board approval not be used for directors to encourage to sand things, that there should be annual limits provided in the budget. I don't think so. I think the board has to approve for the directors. This was put in there a long time ago for an incident that probably was similar to what we went through with the trip to Palm Springs. Nobody knew about the staff going. You guys didn't tell us. I don't care how you word it. You just didn't. And that's what caught it, the whole thing. And it became a minor, what's a good Irish saying about this?
Mountain out of a molehill?
Yeah, tea kettle
Tempest
pop.
in a teapot?
Yeah, all the rest of it. So if we just stay with this board approval and we add this $1,000 for all staff, including board of directors, there will be no more tea kettle pots popping, and we will just go through our business because that will become policy, and voila, we won't have surprises like that board had that night, because Ken finally said we, and finally it came out at the we. I thought it was her wife or girlfriend, but it was George and Kevin, and we didn't know. We didn't have an idea. So when we were asked later by the public going out and visiting, and they said, well, didn't you know about that? I said, no, had no idea.
Well, one thing to add.
Okay.
If the board is leaning towards Ms. Director Flesher's suggestion, I would make the recommendation that it not include all employees. It include board members, GM, and CFO. The employees operated under MOU, for one. They also didn't sign up to be in the public. I understand I'm in my world and I have to let you know when I'm going and where I'm going, and I do that. But other people are not all that comfortable spreading to the world that they're going to be out of town for 3 days, 5 days, and know the exact dates. That puts them in a very uncomfortable position. So if you're going to head down this path, please exclude regular employees that are operating under an MOU.
I can buy that.
Okay, and here's my input on it. I think the reason that Kevin put this in his report was because of this incident, and I think that was a very good move. And I would appreciate it if maybe George would do that in his reports.
I did it last month.
Did
I've
you?
been doing
Okay,
it.
well, evidently you didn't do the Palm Spring one.
No, and
No,
since
that's-
that's going to continue to come up,
Yeah, right. I
let
know.
us say our piece.
I know.
We both did not bring it up
Right.
because we didn't know which way it would sway the board.
Right.
Yes, we are hired to provide our input to the board. That's on policies and water-related issues and operating the district. But swaying the board on whether they should approve a director to travel or not, we've said our piece many times, many years. We support director travel. But in that instance, we remain silent for a purpose.
Right. And the thing that's funny is, if I'd have known about it, I would have voted the other way, and it wouldn't have even come back.
And we don't know.
But
That's the same thing here. If we'd all known about it in advance, there probably would have been no teapot, okay?
That's
That's
precisely.
all we're asking about is let's be notified in advance.
Let me just say one thing, is I heard your guys' concerns, and that's why I've changed what I've done. So let me just to put that to rest, there was never any transparency thoughts in my mind, but to make it more transparent to you, that's why I've done what I've done. And I will continue to do what I've done no matter what the policy states.
Right, well, that's great. And but you were doing that before this here, because I remember it coming up, and I got all the agendas since I've been attending the meetings, and I didn't look it up. But you did that before, and that's where I thought we were voting on it, see? And when we vote to approve, if we approve your page 128, then we're approving your trip on that.
I'm not approving my trip.
Oh,
No,
that's
we're
an
just-
FYI.
I'm just giving you the
I understand.
information that of what's coming out into the
And
future.
to be perfectly clear, in Kevin's contract, those trainings that he's identified,
Yeah, are identified.
you've agreed to them by contract for him.
Exactly.
Are part of them.
Yes.
And I have no intention, George, wherever you need to go to conduct the business of this outfit, I would never vote no against it. I just flat wouldn't. And I would have been more accustomed to vote yes on Director Hunt's trip if I knew you people were going. Because I've gone on those type of trips with lots of people on this type of thing. And as I've already thrown my hat in the ring, if the budget is in good shape, we're making some changes, which I'm going to talk about on your piece here, I would love to go to Monterey, because I know I'd come back with lots of great ideas, plus other things. But isn't the vast majority of our trips and training for $1,000 or less?
No, not.
Not your guys, but the staff.
To me, there's two different things. There's training, and then there's kind of conferences.
Yeah.
Anything that's pretty much more than one night over, you're going to get into the $1,000 because of the travels. The travel's not cheap anymore. Hotel costs, if you're going to any of the cities, is not cheap, and so it gets.
Multi-day conferences are
Well, you know,
$700-800.
Disregarding 50 cents a mile or whatever it is to Sacramento, because I went on one of those for here, and I think my total thing, including 2 meals and the lunch was part of the deal, was less than $200.
But then you had a conference cost of $350
Huh?
on top of that. Conference cost was $350.
Yeah, well, that's less than $1,000.
So no, it wasn't. Yours wasn't $1,000, but I mean, if you're saying
That's a
$250,
day trip to
$350 for the conference cost, you gotta add that into it.
Yeah.
1,000 gets even.
Now, if you were gonna go there for 3 or 4 days, then you put in a request, and the budget's on top of it, and as long as we have the budget, we're fine, you know. It's just to keep this from happening, that's happened before, and to me, it was a very embarrassing
The same
situation.
stuff. We need
Yeah,
to.
we wanna go.
I would think if we just changed the wording of Doug's here and raised that limit to 2,500, remove the words for all staff and change it to the GM and CFO and board of directors, then I would be on board with it. But at $1,000, no. We're going to be talking about every single time these guys go on a trip, and that's
Seth, could you make that a motion, and I'll second it?
that's micromanaging. Okay, then I'll make a motion to amend.
Do we have a motion already?
No.
Were you asking to see if we had a motion already?
No, we don't.
Okay. 11.11 travel approval process from $1,000 to $2,500. Remove the words for all staff and change it to the GM and CFO and the board of directors. And what else? Do we need to change anything else? in there?
CFOs by contract.
Not everything. I second it.
I think did that cover everything?
Yep.
You got it, Georgiana?
I'm very happy with that change in the motion here. It will achieve what I would like for it to achieve.
Okay, and you realize there's no staff and
I
no,
understand
and
that.
no employees.
I understand that.
Okay.
Well, they're already covered inside
They're already
this
covered in
MOU
the
that we're
MOU.
gonna look at tonight,
Okay.
under personnel.
Okay, any discussion, further discussion? My thing, I'm against the motion myself, because I don't think we should, but I have a feeling I'm not gonna win tonight. But, I don't think we should put any restrictions on
best for the
on the
district,
directors. What is it gonna do for the district? It's not gonna change anything.
I just,
The thing that is, I would like, is there a,
Down 3 to 2.
is there a way to, do we have to put in policy that we would like you guys to put where you're going in your reports? Do we have to put that in the policy?
We need to put a policy in it, we're doing it.
Show us 11.11 what we have in there
Is it
right
saying
now.
that you're gonna,
11.11, what's currently there?
Yeah, or if maybe there's not even 11.11.
Probably something we should look at.
It's very definite.
Keep going.
11.11.
point,
Oh, sorry.
there it is, travel approval,
11.12.
Travel approval process.
12.
So currently, the limit's 5,000. The conference exceeds 5,000.
Yeah.
It goes to the board.
Right, but
Where do we see that wording at?
But do we have to put it, my question is, asking you guys to put it in your reports where you're going to go and when? Does that have to be in the policy?
We need to set a policy.
Just direct.
Just ask them to do
You know
it.
what you want, we're gonna do it.
Right, because I don't want to put it in the policy myself.
do you want to
but
change
I'm
the
only
policy
one.
for the board members don't have to get approval of the board?
Yes, I do, because we're going to be setting up a budget, and there's going to be a budget for each director. And we're just trying to figure out what we can do with the money. If you don't go to training, what can we do with that money to encourage you to go to training? Or you, or me, or him, anybody. We want to encourage the directors to go to training, as long as it's in the budget. And I think it's good for the district and good for us. But I don't know how.
I'll call for the question again.
Okay, he says we don't have to vote on it, so I
No,
won't.
you don't vote.
Okay.
Vote.
Okay, a roll call, please.
Director Corolla,
No.
Vice President Hunt,
No.
Director Fletcher,
Yes.
Director Kellogg,
Yes.
President Duncan,
No. Oh, my little speech helped. Okay, now, do we need to talk more about the policy?
You got
Yeah,
on
I'm
page
gonna-
26, there's a change here.
I'm
Board
going-
approval of directors. I'd like to vote on that, just by itself. That's on page 26.
2.23, section 2.23.
Yeah, it's on the screen.
2.23. I make a motion that we continue as it's, we don't change it, it stays with board approval for directors. We don't use annual limits provided in the budget because they have not been provided before. That's something new. We don't know if it's going to stick around or not. So to me, we go back to where the directors have to get approval of the board to go on trips.
Okay. Is there a second?
So I'll second.
Okay,
With
been
a
moved and
question,
seconded.
with a
Discussion?
question. You're making, you do not want to change, you want to leave the wording the way that it is.
Yeah, I want to leave it as board approval.
Okay.
Subject to board approval. Okay. Everyone understand the motion? Roll call, please.
Director Corolla?
No.
Vice President Hunt?
No.
Director Fletcher?
Yes.
Director Kellogg?
Yes.
President Duncan?
No.
I move approval to adopt a new policy manual chapters 5 through 11, 13, 14, and the change to policy 2.23A, training as provided or as training as provided, with section 7.9 being effective January 1st, 2015.
I'll second.
With amendments.
With the legal counsel's.
With amendments. Yes.
7.9.
The red,
I don't know if
the
I
red
like
page. You have it as.
Now, does this count, does this cover all the chapters?
Everything.
This covers everything.
I've got questions.
Do we have, with the legal counsel's amendments here?
The
and
7.9.
That is looking for a second.
On this? Yeah.
Second.
Okay, been moved and seconded. Is there any input from the public? Seeing none? Oh,
What good would it do? I'd like to ask that question.
you don't know. We haven't voted yet. I haven't decided how I'm going to vote. I don't decide how I'm going to vote until the vote is called. I've changed my mind. I'm not too ashamed of changing the way I think. If I hear things that change my mind, I'm hoping other board members are the same. Okay.
Most of this stuff was brought about, we had an intern during the summer. He worked on this extensively. And a lot of this was brought about by him going in, looking at the wording that we had from 50 years ago, and brought it up to current standards. There's nothing that's sly or trying to, sweep something under the carpet here. This is just changing wording in most instances and protecting the district moreover than not, with, like Dustin's changed to 7.9 on the leak policy. This is all stuff just to protect the district. There's nothing that's really changing in the amounts of money being spent or how they will be spent. It's all pretty much just the same, brought up to current wording. That being said, if you guys have had a chance to read it, if you have something that you want to bring to the board's attention, now's the time to do it. Otherwise, we will probably vote on this tonight.
I just want to ask questions after we
Yeah.
have a motion.
We'll do
and a
that
second.
after we get
Yeah.
the public input.
Okay.
Thank you. We're going to all this
Abe?
trouble. I see you guys changing it
Identify
to
yourself.
upgrade it.
Identify yourself,
For
please.
the record.
Lauren Harvey, been in Paradise since 1947. It amazes me that you go to all this trouble to change it, but yet you balk so hard about $2,500 and having to report. I mean, if we're going to upgrade it, let's modernize it and let some sunshine in. By the sheer fact that so many people were against the $2,500 only shows you the need for it. So be careful with what you put in, because, the public may not be standing here with a stick in their hand, but and they might have the disadvantage of learning about it afterwards, but they are going to learn about it. Thank you.
Okay. I want to make a comment. These policies, all you need is for 3 directors to want to change it. It's not in concrete. It isn't like any law that the president might pass.
Any one of these items can be brought back at any time.
Anytime. It's not,
And looked
if
at.
If it's pointed out to us that there's something to be changed, which the attorney has done and everybody, it can be done. Okay, Bill has some questions.
On page 57, B2, provide just.
Can you call it the policy number?
9-1.
Call out the number 9.1.
9.1, yeah.
Okay.
One more.
Okay, B2, I've got an arrow there when I read it today. It says, implement the board-approved compensation plan to promote high morale, efficiency, and economy of the operation of the district. At any rate, I don't know what we gain by, and recommend salary schedules and pay ranges to the board for collective bargaining, and before it was the manager would recommend schedules. So, at any rate, I have no problems with the changes. I just wanted to make sure everybody had read it. Page 9.2, job-related training at the bottom of the page, 9.6. Any district personnel desiring to take a job-related school courses may request reimbursement for tuition and book expenditures. Prior approval of the manager must be obtained regarding reimbursement of these expenditures. Prior approval of the board will be required when the manager personally desires reimbursement for job-related course expenses. So in the past, and we're not proposing to change it, there's a little memo saying that the manager has to get the board improvement to take any reimbursement for job-related course expenses. Now, could that be interpreted as going on a trip to Palm Springs and getting educated? And certainly you take a course down there, you went to seminars and meetings and everything. I'm not...
Can I just clarify that?
Sure.
This is a provision in the MOU for all the employees, and it's usually clear. I mean, it's clear to them in past practice. Job-related training provided during the course of business is one thing. This is referring to going outside and going on your own, so you're not compensated for time or anything. This would be if I decided I wanted to get an MBA and I wanted to go to Chico State night classes and get an MBA, I could ask you to approve to pay for that. So it's training outside of normal work hours is what that
Okay.
refers to.
Page 9.5, and it's all new, it's all in red ink, and it's got different levels for 9-5, iPad, page 61.
Okay.
It says, ideas which are adopted and contribute to the successful operation and progress of the district. Submitters of accepted ideas will receive cash award of level 1, $40, level 2, $100 to $500, or a day off with pay, recipient's choice. Level 3, 5% of the cost savings, a maximum of $3,000.
Oh, you're looking at, okay. You're not looking at 9.5, you're looking at 9.13.
Okay, yeah, that's what I'm looking at.
Okay.
You're right, Larry.
This is current board policy.
Huh?
That's current board policy.
This in the
It's
red is the
because
current
it got
policy?
moved. This is a current board-approved policy, yes.
Oh, okay, so we're not changing or improving anything, there's just
Nothing new.
word language.
We're moving
Changing the location.
Just moved it.
You moved it? Okay.
That was one of the major things that Josh found, is that he found that we had things that were here, that should be here, and this thing needs to
Put 'em
go
in the
over
right
here,
place.
and things that we had stated over here, the exact same thing was stated over here, so we either eliminated something or combined them together into one section that made more sense.
Okay. I read this afternoon, and so I'll just go to the next page. It's 10.5.2, replacement schedule for vehicles. It's got categories and mileage hours, years for different vehicles. And I question the light vehicles, 120,000 miles is be the time to trade them off. With the newer cars and vehicles we have, we can certainly run them longer than that and not lose a great deal of value. So I was thinking maybe that could be expanded, actually. 12 years, 10,000 miles a year. I don't know what the district vehicles get on them, but I would imagine service trucks and dump trucks wouldn't get much more than that a year. I don't know. But I thought the mileage was a little low. You could actually go out higher before you trade them off. So that's my comment. Then if we go to 10.6 is a let's see.
Once
this
again,
is
that's current board
10.7.
policy right now.
Huh?
Yeah.
That is current board
That is
policy.
current board policy.
That's
and
not being
it's-
changed,
It's a
just moved.
guideline. Every vehicle purchase comes to the board anyhow, so.
Okay.
Right.
But, okay. Then, this one's funny to me. This is conduct 10.7 and C2. It talks about traffic violations, influence alcohol, but this one down here has been struck out. Employees shall not engage in smoking of any type while inside a district vehicle. I just wondered why it was struck out.
Well, there's a 4.
Yeah, there's a 4. It was moved.
It was moved,
Yeah.
but it's still
Up
in
to 4.
effect then?
Yeah, it's still in effect.
Top of the page.
10.74 on the
Very
top of
top.
this page, up on the screen. That's
Look on your
Oh.
screen, on your
still there.
Yeah, 4.
computer screen.
Okay, well, my screen isn't on, so I'll turn it on. Okay, so we still have it, okay.
Just moved it.
I'll just keep going here and find, yeah, I've got some more. iPad, page 71. It's B, 11.12, board member travel. B, budgeted and reimbursable, used to be approved. Budgeted and reimbursable board member travel includes industry conferences, training, official meetings with officials from other governmental bodies to conduct official district business. Now, the only question I have about this whole thing, you say you're going to have a control by the budget. In other words, when you exceed the budget for traveling, regardless of who spends the money, then it's done?
Well, the directors will have their own line item.
We've never had that before.
Well, we did, it just wasn't called just travel. It was.
Board expenses.
It's board expenses. We've had it before, it's just that we never asked where it was.
And with the previous wording of approved board member travel, means we didn't have a budget for it, and we've already spent our budget for travel, but we just keep on approving more travel and more travel. That's why this wording came in, which is more up to date once again.
In other words, in the current budget that we're in right now, we have a line item per board member for travel.
Board expenses, it's
For board
called.
expenses.
We
yeah.
just we have a
One
board
line.
expenses.
If we like to,
One
like this-
line item, not by director?
Correct.
Exactly.
We're talking about making it by district, not director, district. We're talking about the finance.
Let's say there's $10,000 in there, we would each have $2,000 itemized to each one of
Right now, the way
us.
it exists, one board director could go on lots of trips and use up the whole line item.
Yes.
There'd be no control.
Well, right now,
Right now,
there is control
Because we vote.
because it says we have to vote for it.
No, you just changed it.
No, we haven't changed it yet. We haven't voted.
You haven't voted yet. Okay. Now, I got iPad, page 72, 11.5.
We're talking about it still. We're talking about that. Failed.
Which line,
This one is
Bill?
11.12, but it's the next page over, and it's item I. It's been changed to I. It says, board members shall submit expense reports within a reasonable time after incurring the expense as determined by the district, and the report shall be accompanied by receipts documenting each expense. How is expense reported to the board? I have not seen any item for like Ken's trip or any kind of expense
No,
item.
this is us reporting.
Yeah.
This is us reporting to them to get reimbursed.
Yes, but
Which
you're
we
saying
do
it's a
every month.
budget item, so how are we going to see how it racks up against the budget if we don't have a report from the director that went on the trip?
You don't have a budget yet. You will if we set the budget. So right now, what we do is it's just included in director expenses. What the proposal is that if you guys approve this, that each director would have their own budget. Therefore, it would be, I would have to segregate each director's travel and deduct it from their budget on a monthly basis. And if the board's pleasure is to see that on a monthly basis, I have no problem with that.
So if this approves tonight, next month, we'll have a budget amendment agenda item to set each board member's travel expense annually.
How much did we start out with?
20,000. I think it was 20,000.
We have 20,000 in there currently, but it's up to you guys on what you want as a budgeted travel expense for each one of you guys.
Like, a couple of the meetings that I've gone to, the one here in Oroville, the birdcage, that would come out of my expenses.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yep.
And I hope to go again to that economic, which we're going to be voting on tonight, I guess, in January. That would come out of that.
Yep.
And next year when I go to Monterey,
That would be next year's budget.
Yeah, the next year's budget.
But yeah, that would come out of your budget. Correct.
How much money is left in that account? How much have we spent?
Off the top of my head, I would say maybe 3,000.
We saved a lot because nobody challenged us in the election.
That we,
Oh, yeah, you're talking
out of the
about-
20,000 or whatever it was, we've only spent 3.
I'm just don't know.
Yeah, I
Don't
know.
hold me to that.
Just a guess.
Roughly.
I never hold you to that kind
An
of stuff.
estimate.
Relatively speaking, we've
20,000,
spent,
what we saved from nobody.
we have more than we've
for
spent.
the election? Well, or was there a line item, budget item for the directors at 20,000 for trips?
It was a board expense line item. So if the election was part of that, then that would have came out of there. If you have board travel, that would come out of there. So that's,
But
there was no board election, so there was quite a bit saved.
Okay.
Okay.
Now, even though I made the motion here earlier that was defeated, if I had been aware of some of this puts a different light on it. Because in order for me to spend my $2,000 or whatever I wind up with, I'm gonna have to bring it before the group, or at least you people.
You will have to bring it before the group.
Well, I bring it to
But
you.
your budgeted amounts will be shown.
Okay, good.
The only time you do it is when you give the report of your thing and when you turn in your expense.
Okay, I've got another one. I'm trying to go as fast as I can with these
Okay.
things. 13.4 on page 76. In 13.4 is what the capitalization versus expense is what it is. Why do we need to raise from $2,500, expensing it out, to $10,000? Is it?
It's actually already been done. It's just making this consistent with another policy, which is the capitalization policy that's already been set.
We already passed it?
Yeah, that raised it from 25 to, from 10, or from 25 to 10. And it was based on the auditor's recommendation, because 25 is kind of a small number to continuously capitalize things on your balance.
And they didn't pass it, we did.
Okay, well,
Once again, a lot of this wording is, 25, 30 years old, so.
well, I understand that, Seth. I just was doing my job, and that was to, what I've been hired for.
Absolutely.
So that's it. I have no more. Thank you.
Do you have any, Doug?
Yeah, I have a couple, we've already covered some of them, but I think it's on page 54, iPad 54. It has to do with the meters. Maybe it's not
Give the
54.
give the.
Then it's 45, it's iPad 45.
Okay, and what's
Policy.
the,
And
policy
it has
number?
to do,
what's the policy number?
6.12.3.
policy number is 6.12.2, ownership and site. Actually had a couple of constituents, exactly 3 of them, as a matter of fact, that were asking me about this, and when they first hit me with it, I didn't know what they were talking about, per se. Although I've had a meeting in the district since 1950. Well, anyway, actually before that, on some of our other properties. And what they're concerned with here, the district shall retain ownership of the meters. I have no problem with that. Change in it, what they're concerned with, would we, as a district, be able to come out and knock on their door and say, you need to have a larger meter, we're going to install it and bill you for it. That's what the bottom line. Would we do that?
Yes, we can do that.
Okay, good.
Yes.
What
Because
would make us do that?
what would make us do that is they're using more water than that meter can accurately measure, when that meter can actually withstand
The wear and tear.
The wear and tear. So
That's what they were concerned about.
that would be the case, yes. It's not.
Now,
we
if they
don't-
want to change,
We don't do it often.
it is well worded down here, if they wanted to change, and we were in agreement to the size that they wanted, okay, well, then they would have to pay for that, and the capacity fee would be put on the property.
Be the difference.
Yeah, the
They'd
difference.
have to pay it.
Yeah, they would pay it, but the capacity fee would stay credited to that property. That's what it
Yes.
says here.
Yes.
Okay.
Considering we,
If they have a 2-inch meter and they want to go down to a 3/4, they still retain the capacity of a 2-inch meter.
Without any additional cost.
Right.
Okay, they would.
Well,
just-
they have to pay for the.
Well, they would
the
pay for the hooking up
cost
the
of
the 3/4
downsizing the
meter and
meter.
putting it up there.
Yeah.
And they would receive nothing for the 2-inch meter.
Right.
We just take that back and throw it away or redo
But
it.
then if they wanted to go back up to a 2-inch, that would be, the only cost would be to install the 2-inch.
Or just the,
Because they've already paid that 2-inch capacity fee.
yeah, but they would have to buy a new 2-inch meter and pay us to install it.
That's it.
They wouldn't buy it, would they?
when we did the meter project, did we not probably look at that and make determinations? So everybody should be relatively current unless
No,
they changed.
We did what they had.
Did
We
what they had,
monitor
okay.
usage. And so there's been maybe 3 instances in the last 10 years where someone was using
Okay.
way more water than they should.
Well, I was gonna say, are we getting 3 instances in 1 year? So that's weird you picked that number, but yeah, that's,
I don't
I
have.
was
one
thinking, I
off of
can't
my head,
ever
but
think of
I
hearing
noticed in
this.
the staff report where they did change the meters around. How often does that happen where we go out and say you're gonna have to have your meter changed and we're gonna bill you for it? If you were gonna make a wild guess.
Three times in 10 years.
3 times in the last 10 years.
Okay, 3 times in the last 10 years. And that's because they were trying to pump more water through the meter than it would
Yes.
adequately handle. Okay.
Largely a situation where they have such high water pressure that it just comes screaming out there.
And it's usually on businesses because they pay a higher rate for their higher meter size on a monthly basis as well as the capacity fee. So they try and squeeze out all they can.
Okay. And I think the rest of them have been answered. I realize that this is rewriting policies that were 25, 30 years ago, and I thought that they were well done. And Bill asked some of the questions that I had, so I won't worry about repeating it. And but getting back to the equipment, of course, you realize that's what I work with every day and appraise it and all kinds of stuff like that. Bouncing around town here, sometimes a rig that's got 120,000 miles on it has had as much wear and tear. The door is falling off the damn thing as a rig out here with 500,000 on it. In fact, I just drove a truck the other day that's got 1.5 mil. But on your heavy equipment, it'd be kind of interesting to follow because I'm very interested in this. 1 hour of operation at the proper RPMs is considered 40 road miles. So 6,000 times 40, what would that be? 250,000 miles. See, so a piece of equipment, well, that's a rule of the thumb, 40 miles per hour of proper operation, RPM. So that heavy piece of equipment with 6,000 hours would have the equivalent of 240,000 miles on a road rig.
24,000.
24,000?
Yeah, you said 4 times, right?
40 times.
40, then you're right.
40 miles.
Okay, I thought you said 4.
That's just a rule of thumb, and if you look at manuals, when you grease them and drain the oil and all kinds of stuff, it kind of falls right along. That's kind of interesting. So if we operate one and get 6,000 hours on it, in 12 years, we've got the equivalent of 240,000 miles.
I think we've got its life expectancy out of it, and I'm sure the way we maintain our vehicles, we probably got a little bit more than
I'm sure that
we should have out of it.
I'm sure that they're very well maintained.
Absolutely.
Okay, anyone else? Any other comments?
Before we do this, I'd like to thank staff, our intern Josh, which isn't here anymore, but I would especially like to thank Director Hunt for his countless hours of reading, which I don't think any of us, except for myself, who read it, but if you read this whole thing, think of Director Hunt going through there, reading this whole thing, and making a huge amount of corrections. Every time we would have a meeting on this, he would have 25 pages of corrections, just basic grammar, wording, placement of where things should be, noticing that this should be over here. I read the same sentence and it just went right over my head, and I'd just like to thank Director Hunt for his hard work on this. It was basically a general house cleaning and housekeeping on it, but it was definitely a hard venture, and I read stories to my 10-year-old, and they don't look anything like this. They're entertaining. So
We're going to double his hourly pay.
well, yeah.
Double zero.
You're up to 450.
Now I hope there's no errors in there.
Yeah. Well, that's the nice thing about being able to bring it back at any time, you know. You catch one, you can bring it back.
Okay, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Passes 5-0. Okay. What is this? Information system. Oh, he's not here. Okay.
Well, it would be lack of information.
Well, let's go on and do C then. 6C?
Can do the C.
Yeah. Educational information regarding existing ponds. Director Kellogg.
I wanted to go up here to show the audience and the directors and everybody else what we're talking about. The Gully reservoirs here, these are ponds that we presently use in putting out wastewater, and they're dried out, and in there is one particular picture where they've been cleaning out one of the ponds. I don't know which one it was. These are the ponds that we presently use. And our property goes up this way. I don't know exactly where the boundary is here. But somewhere like this is PID property. And so I'll just explain a couple of things. This will be different when I move now. The soils here from the National Resource Conservation Service, the soil map, in which I went over this afternoon. These are really good soils. What do we call it? Serpentine? Serpentine, thank you. The serpentine starts almost right at the edge of these ponds.
I hate you.
If you walk up here, you'll be on serpentine and looking down into the ponds, and the ponds are in good soil, and the serpentine goes back this way. So there's no danger of serpentine getting into the water system. Now, or in the future, if we use it. So we have these 3 ponds, and they're up here. We pump water, and Jim can tell me if I'm wrong about any of this, from the water treatment plant up to the ponds, then they're gravity fed. Then where we had that little test on the stream bed to see if something came out of it, actually is this stream going right down here. The place where we pull water samples at the present time is right here at this pipe, is what I was told on a Saturday morning. I assume when we're using there's another pipe over here somewhere. I don't know how this is fed or pipes link each other or not. But the key thing is permeable soils up to 6-7 feet deep, which you wouldn't always expect on a hillside. Because some of this is at 15% grade. So my proposal is putting the wetlands not anyplace else, because we have one pump that pumps up there, and we can feed the water from that area, from wetlands, constructed wetlands, by gravity, back to either the reservoir or back to the water treatment plant. After the water has gone through settlement ponds and wetlands, constructed wetlands. Now, the constructed wetlands are sort of a mystery. It's a new science. It's only been around on a practical basis for a little over 20, 30 years. And as far as using it for potable water, it's probably only been the last 5 years, of what I can find. And certain engineering firms in the United States have hit on this as a green thing of recycling water. And one of them is the CHM Hill, that I ended up talking to their consultant on it. They referred me to him. He's in Florida. We've emailed, and I've talked to him on the phone. And he was gone for a couple of weeks, and where he was, I found out later, with their own newsletter came out. He was in China explaining wetlands, constructed wetlands, at a seminar to the Chinese. So the man is well-trained and has an excellent background. You know, I'm not in love with wetlands. They're just a different thing of doing things. But when they're put in and engineered properly, they save money and water. We know that they'll easily, after the little experiment, and then talking to this man, he told me, his name's Jim Bay, he told me, all you have to do is drop the water over a waterfall, and the oxidation you go process, you go through there, will get rid of the dichloromethyl bromide. I'm sure I didn't say it right. Did I?
Chlorine byproduct.
Yeah, the chlorine byproduct will be gone. That's simple. The aluminum takes a little more work. He didn't come up with any suggestions about it. The only thing I found out is that in George's report to us, he refers to Jim saying there's a plant that will take aluminum out of the water. And the other thing I've been struck by is these wetlands don't have a uniform design. They're designed to the particular situation and the particular waste products you're trying to get out. As far as the size of them, I've been told they're 1 to about 10 acres. It depends on engineering figures on volume, but it also depends on how permeable the soil is underneath, because these things don't necessarily have any bottom in them. They're just dirt, just like the present ponds we have. They're just dirt floors, and the water will permeate down through them and recharge the groundwater. So some of the water will never be recycled. It will stay in the wetlands and disappear, and hopefully the aluminum will stay so that we can operate the same way we're operating now, only have redesigned the ponds a little depth and how we clean them out. And Jim, I wanted to ask you about that picture with that backhoe in it, and that was just your annual cleanup of the pond?
Yes.
And that goes off to the dump?
Right, after it's dried and tested.
Yeah. It has aluminum in it then?
Yes.
Most definitely, yeah.
Is there a liner to that pond?
No.
It's just dirt bottom and some goes right through.
Aren't they wanting us to
You
line
can
it?
see where it leaks.
But they want
I
us,
just want clarification.
they want us to line it, right?
Well, they wanted us to do test drilling to determine if it was leaking. And we already know that it was because we could see where it
Seeping out.
seeping out.
Yeah.
Yeah. So
Back into the reservoir.
Down the
the way
hill.
to fix that is a liner.
What I was told by the state people is that they were concerned wherever we take the test, like the little pipe in the one pond, that where the test is taken, that's where they're concerned about the levels of whatever you're dealing with. So if you ran a pipe all the way down to the reservoir instead of in a creek, then the testing wouldn't have picked up the additional aluminum evidently out of the creek, I was told. I really don't know a lot about this stuff. So this is a proposal because we use district land, which we already own. We use land that we're already using to a certain extent for this and could probably be adapted. We have excellent soils there. Incidentally, the golf course that George is proposing has good soil underneath it too. It's a different soil, but it is deep and it's very permeable in the same respect. So both sites have good things. The topo on the golf course is quite flat compared to the slide slopes, but if you remember the pictures from the wetlands up in Oregon, can't think of the name of the waterfall thing, any rate.
Talking tea garden.
Talking something.
So
Whispering water.
they were not rectangles or any kind of a straight thing. They went with the contour of the land. And to me, it's like looking at the old rice fields before we learned how to flat level, that the contours were all over the place. And they would not be normally a straight rectangle except on the property boundaries. So the way you could put them in on the slope that's 10 to 15% with the deep soil where the ponds are, is just like the ponds have been done there. They flattened out an area and dug a hole in the ground and created the ponds some years ago. So we should be able to do that. And if we go on a contour, we're not going to be moving as much dirt as if we make a rectangle or some other form. Just keep in mind, it is a new science, constructed wetlands. Don't ever use the term wetlands, because EPA, if you build a wetland, they will consider it a permanent wetland, and you won't be able to ever change it. So you have to call it a constructed wetland. And they have in their first, they have a thing about an inch thick about constructed wetlands, and the first paragraphs are all saying, don't call it a wetland, call it a constructed wetland, and you'll be all right. You can in the future do any kind of changes you need to. We have experienced firms that have actually built constructing wetlands. I mentioned one of them. There are several others. The thing that's interesting to me is the savings on capital, because the estimate on this thing is about half of what our estimates are on the mechanical plant, and they're certainly just estimates. The return on investment would be much better for the district. The groundwater recharge, I'm not looking at it as a negative thing. I think it's a positive thing. And we'd meet the NPDES permit, probably for both aluminum and the chlorine byproduct, like Seth said. Now, this is why I think we should go ahead and investigate the wetlands further. Now, George has already given you a suggestion for the golf course, and probably we'll talk about that in a few minutes. My proposal for an ad hoc committee is for a compromise thing on this business, forming a committee of myself and Doug, and I would be the chair, because we have the most experience on the board of dealing with biological things and farming and gardening and what have you. Then it would consist of George, Jim Pastorini, Bill Taylor, and Niels. And this committee would review both proposals and contact engineering firms and then report back to the board, rather than having us go to a vote or be involved. And some of the directors find this quite humorous. I don't know. It isn't to me. To me, it's a compromise. It's a way to work it through the system of the board of directors and the staff and work out any conflicts in a committee and then report back to the board. And it shouldn't take more than a couple of meetings, I would think, 2 or 3 meetings. So that is my proposal tonight.
George, do you want to put any more information?
I'll just clarify. I came up with this, although it's looking a little funny up there. No, it's not. It's not flipping things. But anyhow, when that golf course issue became to open on the wrong spot, it just popped into my mind that could be an option. I've listed the pros and cons. I've answered any questions. I'm not married to AECOM. Looking into any possibility. It's just always easier when you have somebody under contract and you can issue a change order for additional work rather than having to go through another bid process and another insurance requirements and all of those things. I think they have, they're a humongous company. They have the people that can evaluate and analyze both options. But if you want to go to the outside, go straight to CH2M Hill, we could get a proposal from them as well. I'm fine with that. I'm not. I brought it forward just because Jim has done a ton of work. And I have tried every possible way we could to find a grant option for our problem. And with what we think is the best solution at this point, there's just no grant money available. And there may be grant money available if you do something with this wetlands type approach that you're not going to find with what we're working on right now. Can't guarantee we'll find grant money for it. Don't know that. But I know that we've been exhaustive in our efforts. We can't even get our current, even though we're, keep in mind, let's not forget, we're looking at 500 acre feet a year that we're leaving in Paradise Lake. That shouldn't be discounted. That's a lot of water. And unfortunately, we thought we could sell that as a recycle and find some recycle grant money, but we don't meet any definition of recycle that the grant people have for us. So
I have a question for you, because I don't understand what you're talking about doing at the golf course. But let me just state something that should be obvious. Hundreds of people have purchased homes up there surrounding that golf course. They purchased those homes because there was a golf course there. They liked the manicured lawns. They liked the green. And just off the cuff, I'm thinking that we're going to make a lot of citizens angry if we turn those lush fairways into swampland that will attract snakes and frogs and lizards, mosquitoes, bugs, crickets, things, black monsters. So I don't know if that's what you're saying about doing with that land there, but if I own property anywhere near that golf course, I think I might even become politically active and get some citizens to say, what's going on?
That certainly could be a result. I thought about it the other way. Because, yes, these people bought golf course frontage property, and now they're going to look at an open, dry bed of weeds probably for the foreseeable future, where maybe this would be an attractive backyard function to them. I didn't get too heavily into the bugs and I know mosquitoes can be handled, but
The nice thing is they don't vote.
swamp things, swamp creatures. Yeah, I didn't even think about swamp creatures. So hey, I don't know. You're right. It could fall that way very easily.
I thought it was interesting. I still didn't quite understand what you're saying. You're actually saying go up there and down
Up
the
the water
fairways,
up there, you build brand new
pond area,
ponds.
containment deals.
Yep, and then
You flood them.
just like we're doing now, same technology. The ponds settle out the heavy particles, and then you have a little bit of cleaner effluent coming off that'll have the aluminum and DCBM, and that's what would feed these wetlands that would treat hopefully the rest of it as it went down through the golf course.
And we wouldn't move it back into Paradise Lake.
No, we would lose it.
Does that aluminum hurt people?
Not in the levels we have. We have.
Right. So it could be used to even water the golf course, if there whatever
No,
was
plants
left.
don't like aluminum.
Oh, they don't. They don't like aluminum.
There's
Well,
some
then how
grasses.
could how could you operate a wetland then with plants in it if they don't like aluminum?
Well, there's some plants that may work.
No.
Again, that's why I put in there. I'm not an expert.
The
at
other
this.
thing is, how do you, if the aluminum doesn't go away and you've got plants in there, how do you get it out of there? Because if you go in with a backhoe, you're going to take the plants out too.
Anyhow, what I don't like is that we're still dealing with and what are all those initials? NPDs.
Yes, yep, still got a permit. We're still losing that water.
Yeah.
And our solution now, we won't have a NPD's permit requirement.
Correct.
Plus, we will have more water too.
Yeah.
It just seems like we ought to be able to, the government ought to pay us if we're getting more water.
How big a volume of aluminum are you talking about?
The concentration levels?
100,000 pounds?
No, it's, what are we looking at? 70 parts per billion?
But how many pounds of waste though do we?
No more than 1 part, really.
1 part per billion, probably. So it's.
Yeah, but I think he's asking how much do we have to take away? How much do we take to the dump?
For some reason, Dan, fish don't like that one part, though.
Well, we take the dirt, total volume of the dirt. There's,
Yeah.
what did Bill say? We took out 45 yards this year, I think.
Yes.
Hauled down to the dump. But that's all of the dirt. That's not only a tiny bit of that's aluminum.
But we gotta take it all because we can't let the aluminum go back into the reservoir.
Well, we're just taking the dirt out.
Right.
Did we put dirt back in? George?
We put dirt when we use it to filter.
If we kept our old ponds and did a wetlands where Bill was, we will definitely have to line the ponds that we have.
In my opinion, yes.
Yes. I think that was the girl from the office that issues the NPDS
I think it was
permit.
her opinion as well.
I think that was definitely her opinion.
Public, please.
John, and as I said before, I just got done spending 10 weeks or 10 days at the on-site recycling conference in Denver. Some important things that came up on this. We had the opportunity to visit both the Aspen wastewater treatment and potable water plant. I think after seeing the Denver basin and the restrictions there, they're close to California, believe it or not. They are really rough right now. Right now, a pound of phosphorus, they have now created a carbon credit type thing, is worth about $10,000 in the wastewater industry there. And they're trading credits back and forth. That's how bad it's getting. One of the plants that we toured, they just got hit with the identical same situation that you're doing, or that you got caught in. The byproduct of the alum that you're using as your flocculant is an aluminum sulfide. The way to get rid of it is the alkalinity, and by adding something after it goes through your flush, and when it goes into your settling ponds or filtering ponds or whatever method you're using, they're using a magnesium hydroxide. They haven't got the dosage exactly where they want it yet because they put it in the week before we were there. Their system consists of a 330-gallon porta-tank with an aerator on it that this slurry is put in, and a rotating cam with a little piece. Then peristaltic pump is the common reference that doses into the flow. So far, they are very happy with it. They are very happy with the results. They haven't got it all the way dialed in. I have the information on the engineering firm that is doing it there. Like they said, they're getting 100% out, but they are now monitoring to make sure that they don't have any other metals or byproducts in there that could cause problems in the future. I brought it up. There's a firm out of Denver that is big on this, and they include using wetlands in some of their projects. There's a firm out of Vancouver, and there's a firm out of Texas that they're leading the industry on this. When I mentioned, and in fact I shared the report that was shared with the board with a couple of the engineers, and two of the principals of these firms were, where can I go get involved on this? They felt there was, and all three of them have done work in California on large projects. So I'm not, the chlorine, it's nothing, aeration. One of the things that you're going to run into, though, is they want a percent of dissolved oxygen, typically 6 of total saturation of the water going back in. The second thing that came up is in November, the water bill that passed. In the fighting back and forth with Mr. Brown and his tunnels, And some of the other people, the more conservative bunch, the tunnels were scrapped. There is $500 million that was approved in November. This isn't even into, they don't even know exactly how it's going to be distributed, that is approved in that water bill that is strictly for recycling. And in the definition of recycling that was in that bill that was fought back and forth between the legislature, irrigation of recreational used properties, residential properties, commercial properties. So as soon as I heard this, I started changing my plans for the seminars. And the US EPA has, and it isn't for all areas, but they have charts of application rates based on soil types, and I did the same thing as you did, went to the soil conservation maps, the USGS maps, and we can get, in most areas around here, 8 months out of the year, 1 inch per day per square foot coverage of disposal with not getting to a saturated soil. So there are some other options. And look at your gradient of your water at the lake. If, no matter how you skin the cat, if that gradient of whatever your impermeable layer is flows back to the lake, and you've went through the soils and cleaned it up, but it's already going to be clean. It's basically potable water with aluminum sulfide in it. And if you can precipitate that out, as these other communities are doing with the magnesium hydroxide, or some other things that they can be used but more expensive, baking soda, lime. It's just a little change in the pH. It's not a big deal, but you still got to have some way to precipitate it out, whether it's a some type of clarifier. But anyway.
Okay. Thank you. The problem I have is, what other problem would we create? Isn't magnesium worse for you than aluminum? I don't know. Is it? I've always heard magnesium causes Alzheimer's.
Just to inform you that if we don't have a project that is increasing capacity, then I don't think, and I think Justin would agree with me, that the capacity fees could be used for those. So we would have to find either general fund monies or borrowed funds for that. The other thing too is that, and Jim has worked very hard on this, and we were both down there for a meeting with the state to get state revolving fund monies that is at a super low interest rate. The project we have in front of them is the option 3, is that what it's called? Which is a recycling project. If we bring another project forward to them, I believe that would have to go through some type of review from them again to see if it fits their program.
Right now, our applications for our alternative 3, so we would have to resubmit with a different project description.
And it's not guaranteed that we can get that funding. That way.
So I just wanted to bring that to the board so that everybody's informed on that.
Right.
Yeah.
Okay. Bill?
Actually, if you look back at the project in Oregon, they were dropping the water into a river, meeting all the standards for quality. There's no reason, if you could do the same work here, you couldn't drop it back into the reservoir or recycle it through the plant. And what I'm after is, like I said, I'm not in love with wetlands, but I am in love with the savings involved in what I would call a truly constructed wetland. Nothing we've looked at before. These things have special plants in them to help do this. And in the description, if you read through it really carefully, you'll find that not all the ponds or wetlands that they developed up there, 29 or 30 acres, with a huge volume of water from 2 plants, were the same. They had different plant communities in them. They had the ability to dry them up and go in there like with the backhoe and clean it out. and then reestablish it. So there's things, but the problem is, for me at any rate, is that we need a firm that's what has actually done this and had experience with this new potable water thing. The only one I have is the Hill. I can't. Their name is so strange to me. I don't always get it right.
CH2M Hill.
Yeah, they're the only ones I know of. I'm sure there's some others, but this is all new. So what we need to do is talk to these firms and find out what we can do or can't do. And if we can, it might be a viable alternate and save a huge amount of capital. If they're not, they're not. But the thing is hinged on all along was to make potable water out of the whatever design it is. And to me, that you have to get some engineering. That's why the suggestion that we form this in-house committee. This in-house committee can contact the firms, and we can kick it around amongst ourselves, and then come back to the board, hopefully by the next board meeting, and say, okay, this is what we found out. These are the hurdles. These are the good things and the bad things. And speculate off of seeing one thing that's working in Oregon. We actually get an experienced engineering firm in or two that can give us some ideas.
What's your estimate on, do you think the cost?
I don't know. I have no idea.
Yeah.
It'd be like picking them up on the phone and say, okay, what do you think you're gonna, would you charge?
I would like to make a statement to that. I think that we made our decision. We should go proceed with the mechanical dewatering because it's clearly a lower cost system.
No.
Because the return on investment is better.
No.
And because we don't have to meet the NPEDS deal.
Ever again.
Now that I said that, does that make it true?
No.
Okay. And because you keep coming up, Bill, and saying lower cost, the return on investment is better. This may be half the cost, but I don't know what I'm talking about, but it's going to be a lower cost. I'm tired of wasting time on this. I don't want an ad hoc committee. I don't want any committee. I don't want to spend any more of the public's money chasing this deal. I'm just giving my opinion, and then we'll vote on it.
I'm going to have to say this, and I
don't
like
we didn't talk while you were doing it.
Okay.
And all I'm saying is you don't have any numbers. You have a dream that you think is lower cost, that you think the return on investment is better, that you think is only going to cost half of our $10 million, but you have no substance. And I, for one, have listened to this for months on end now. We need a project to go forward to satisfy whoever it is we're satisfying, the regulatory agencies. And we've got it. You know, we're moving into getting this project moving, and it's my opinion that we should focus our attention on this and drive it to fruition. And that's it.
Sep, anything?
Yeah, I have.
We had reports from the, we had 3 firms here when we decided on which one. Not one of them, when I asked them directly, did they think a wetlands solution of any sort was possible to solve our problem. They all sat quietly and didn't say a thing. We instructed, I believe, AECom to do a slight look at it. We spent a certain amount of money at looking at it, did we not?
Life cycle.
It was just a life cycle cost.
Yeah, life cycle
That
cost.
wasn't their idea.
But basically, that showed a higher expense in the wetlands. And so I wish we had some numbers to say how much this is going to cost. But spending more of the public's money to find out if it's a no answer, when I've seen 3 engineering companies say it is not an answer to our problem with our topography of where we're at and the soils we have to work with, it seems like we're just spinning our wheels. And we're not moving forward with the project that we really need to do, which we are on a time limit. That's clearly, it's been stated, we are on a time limit.
Did you want, Doug, did you want to say anything before?
I'll say something, but go ahead, Bill.
Okay, he had his turn. I thought I'd give everyone else their turn.
I appreciate that. When I received the email from George on this, what I've got here in my new folder here, new wetlands solution, I was rather excited about it, even though Bill perhaps doesn't think that would work. It has a lot of potential. We're doing a lot of different things, and there's a lot of scenarios that we could do with it. And so I was excited about it. And as a matter of fact, I was just watching some wetlands today that my class built, and what it was for was to take the drain water off of what I call the Clark Road side of the parking lots, if you've ever been to Butte College, and off of that gravel area, there's 5 or 6 of them. My class helped build some of them. It's a volume of water like you can't believe. And what comes off of a parking lot after all summer is mind-boggling. In fact, I had the privilege of showing Jim some of those wetlands we looked at. Of course, it was 105 degrees when we went through there and looked at it, even at 9 o'clock in the morning. Well, those wetlands that we built are solving the problem. And what we're solving is we're dispensing the water so that the material washed off the parking lots is dispensed and held in these constructed wetlands before it gets to Clear Creek. Butte College has over a mile of riparian area off of Clear Creek, which we're down here, this type of a thing. And it really works. And I made a point of watching it, and it works. And the stuff coming in off the parking lots is crap. And the stuff going out into a settling pond before it gets to Clear Creek. Now, we received a grant. I don't remember the size or anything like that, but we built those from Fish and Game and also from the Soil Conservation, because they're interested in that type of thing. And I'm sure there's some out there because you're doing new technology, you know. And if they're constructed properly, part of the landscape. They're not, if they're constructed properly, they're not like Ken was saying. And those people would appreciate that instead of those mass brown pieces of ground that they're going to have for quite a number of years. The paper said that from Del Noro, up there type of thing, and they would. But anyway, so as long as we've been wrestling this, Ken, and I agree with you completely on that, we are on the right track. We spent $1 million. We've committed $1 million to AECom, outstanding engineering company, and they're drawing the plans as we speak. And that's spent, you know. So we're on track. We're not wasting any time. There's nothing we could be doing that would speed it up that we haven't already done when we gave the contract to AECom. And so I really believe to put this thing to rest and all of the other things like John was talking about, if we had this ad hoc committee to take a look at it, we perhaps could solve the problem. We could come up with some figures and then put it to rest permanently. And there's several options that we haven't looked at, you know. There really is. And but anyway, so.
Okay. Bill?
The costs on it seems to be a big hang-up. The reason the Oregon people put in the constructed wetlands in their own write-up is they save tremendously over what a conventional treatment plant would be. And it was an answer to Seth's question, well, you got any potable water installations? That one is potable water and others in it. Now,
I think it was.
Yes, it is.
It sure looked like a wastewater treatment plant when I looked it up.
At any rate, there's 2 treatment plants that go into it, but they're treating one of them as potable water, like an irrigation district. The other one is a manufacturing firm. But the end of it was that they did save money on it over the other one. That's what was one of the decisions. The information I get on wetlands, and I'm going to have to use this term, constructed wetlands that have been built for this, that have plants in them, they're put in beds. They're not 18 feet deep, which one proposal here was. They're 1.5 to 2 feet, maybe 3 feet deep. And that's why you have to have a protective fence around them. And I agree with Ken on the value of the property of doing the golf course. You do that to protect people from going into those ponds or children, just like we have protective fences around the 2 ponds or 3 ponds we have up there now. The cost was less. That's what drove these people to this solution. Just like our problem here is we're 10,000 people or customers in a very small district. We have 30-some employees, and we're looking at doubling our debt overall. And I'm saying, let's look at it with an engineering firm that has experience with creating one of these things and find out some answers. I can get, Jim Bay told me over the phone, he says, well, you use so many gallons, you need to, engineering formula. Then it was off if it depended on what kind of soil it was on. If it depended if you put a floor in the basin, or did you have to put a floor in the basin? What I was told by the people of the state water in Reading is that the only thing they're concerned with is the water that goes out of that pipe, out of the ponds. That's what they're concerned with as water quality. They never mentioned at one time about drilling any holes or checking seepage on the ponds. So I'm going, it's new, and I've dealt with agriculture with new ideas, but I'll just give you one new idea. It was in business community. And photocopiers came out after the Second World War. It was 30 years later before they were widely accepted. And 50 years later that they're the point they are now where almost every business has them in their deal. I actually deal with a company in Chico that has no computers, uses pencils and the old letter thing. And they seem to get along fine, but everybody else has computers. And this is the same thing with this wetland situation. It's new enough, it's different enough that most engineers, I'd say close to 90% of them, have no idea how to put one together because they get no biological training. It's only these firms that have gone off this direction that do. So I'm not, and as far as you use mosquito fish to control the mosquitoes. You use other ways to control the plants and so forth, and you end up with a wildlife refuge, basically, where these are. And that's one of the reasons I thought, well, put it over on our property because we don't have too many homes that are close to it to have to worry about that. But these are the things, again, I can't give you definite figures because those people didn't publish definite figures. They only said they saved lots of money and they went that way because of it. And then they talked about how it enhanced their community and gardens and all that. So they use them on hog farms in the Midwest. They use them in Eastern Europe now for small sewage operations. They use them all over the world. The use of them is growing rapidly throughout the world, throughout the United States, as a new science, a new thing, but it goes back to biology, and most of our engineers don't have the training or the understanding of it. So that's it.
Mr. President, I would suggest that maybe we hold off on making a decision on this until we get some numbers of at least an approximation of how much an engineering firm, whether it be AECOM, CM2 Hill, whoever.
Well, that's the idea behind the committee, is let the committee do the searching, come back to the board.
Do we need a committee for that, or do we need a phone?
Huh?
Do we need a committee, or do we need a phone for that?
I think you need a committee with a phone and with contacts in the community. Jim has his and his thoughts. There'd be,
well,
it's
Jim
loaded with
Jim,
all our men.
Refresh my memory. Do you work for the district? Okay, so Jim's already on board because he works for the district. So.
That's right. So is Bill Taylor. They don't agree at this point.
So I would.
I've got more opponents than I have anybody to support me. I'm just saying it'd be in the district's interest to find out some answers that we don't have right now.
Don't get me wrong, Bill. I've never been against the wetlands.
No, I know you haven't.
I know we just have never seen any kind of proof, and nobody can give us any kind of proof that the one element that we need to take out, aluminum, can be taken out by a wetlands. Everything else, sewage and runoff from a parking lot and anything else that you can think of can be taken out by a wetlands, but aluminum is one of those items that just doesn't seem to be going away.
I worked lots of days and hours and have been very busy, hardly any time. So I'm going, why not get the professional staff involved here that can find the answer to aluminum? Otherwise, I'm just going on the computer and talking to a guy once in a while from Florida, and I don't have time for anything else.
Well, I think what we need to do before a board makes any decision as to how much money we would spend on a company telling us whether or not this is going to work, we need some preliminary numbers. Now, if the president thinks we need an ad hoc committee to get us that preliminary information, so be it. That's his discretion.
May I ask a question about ad hoc committee? We've got a new policy and procedures manual. It just went into effect. So what does it say about ad hoc committees? How are they formed? By a majority of the board?
I believe it's by the
No,
president.
by the president.
President.
It's only
How are they
standing
populated?
committees. By the president. Standing committees have to be created by the full board.
Okay, that was it. So let's just get this to a head. We're not talking, what we're talking about here is Bill, and I'm saying this on your behalf, but I may be wrong, but it seems like you want to express your ideas to the staff and then have the staff spend however many hours they've got to spend in the next month to come back with some type of a product for the board. This is not work that you're willing to do because you don't have time to do it. And but is that basically right? Without spending any money, there's no authorization for spending $25,000 to get answers from this engineering firm.
Well, we don't, see, the thing is, we're not talking about spending anything for the engineering firm because we don't know. So the only way you find out is that people that work here can find out. They have contacts in the industry and so forth, and they can put it in their work deal. It isn't a big job. I don't think it's more than 10, 15 hours probably to make the phone calls to find the basic information. And then sit in a committee and talk about it, and not to have the full board involved, just the committee, and go through it, debate the different ideas, situation, then come back with a report to you. And
I would think 2 30-minute phone calls to 2 different engineering firms, and if they can't spit out a number that they think that it's going to cost for them to produce a report on what we're asking for, well, then they're probably not the engineering firm that we would want in the first place. I would think that they can say, general number. I don't care if they spit it out high and say it's going to be 100,000. They need to spit out some number and tell us. We can't give them all the information and do all the legwork for them. I believe we already did that with one engineering firm that we were working with. We did more work, so.
well, the one engineering firm you're talking about was not this type of wetland. It was a 18 feet. Jim lectured me one.
I understand what we. I understand what we
I'd
already
like to
went
go back over the history, if I may.
Okay?
We were headed down a path. Director Kellogg found a wetland solution, potential constructive wetlands. Thought it would work. I came back to the board with 3 different locations and thought it just might work. So the board decided to authorize $10,000 additional dollars for Lee and Rowe to hire Brown and Caldwell, the person that Director Kellogg found, to evaluate constructive wetlands options, because he was an expert in, he wrote the book on it, literally, constructive wetlands. He came up on the site, walked it with Jim, Neil, and I. We gave him the location at the plant. We gave him the park location. We gave him a spot up off of Koodalink Road. These were spots we knew that we could get use of the land to do it. He looked at it, and what he came back with was a gravel filter. So he wrote the book on constructive wetlands, and in our area, in our topography, for our problems, his answer was a gravel filter. So that came back to the board. Then the board directed us to get pricing to do a life cycle analysis.
Well, then we picked an engineering firm.
AECOM got that bid. They did the life cycle analysis. The only thing they did was take Brown and Caldwell's gravel filter and moved it because it didn't physically fit where it was. So as much as I'm open to wetlands, etc., and if the board wants us to get AECOM, CHUM Hill, or any other expert they want us to go, we'll go get a bid, and they can do another report. And it'll cost money. But we've already had somebody that wrote the book on constructed wetlands, and that was what he came up with.
Oh, okay.
I'd like to speak to that, but I think John wants to say something.
Real quick, because you've already used your 5 minutes.
There's a company in Loomis, California, Active Treatment Systems. This company is in the business of everything from sediment to industrial waste. They're a prime contractor for PG&E. They're a prime contractor for Parsons. I didn't realize that they were such a leader in the industry. I would guess, because we've worked with them on 2 other projects, I thought they were just a local California company, that probably if one of you, George or whoever, gives them a call. A prime example, when they rebuilt the Folsom Dam and the spillway, they were responsible for, because they got into some mining debris, and it was in an area where they had a very high flow, substantially more than what you're dealing with, and they actually brought in portable equipment and dealt with it during the rainy season because everything was exposed. But they're out of Loomis. I can give George the phone number. Maybe you can solve this all in a 10-minute phone call. And I just thought of them sitting here that, wait a minute, they're here. They do projects, emergency cleanup projects for the EPA. They're very familiar with regional water. You can go to their website. But maybe in 10 minutes they can solve this whole thing here. But I do know when I talked to their one engineer, they said 6 to 8 million, and they said we want to look at it, and I don't think they'll charge you a dime to look at it.
Thank you.
Yeah, I'll comment, but Lauren wants to say something.
Oh, okay.
Lauren Harvey. I'd just like to remind the board that that proposal that come in here had a 40+ per yard pea gravel estimate on filling that hole, and I think that was a bit disingenuous. Most people recognize that for that much gravel, so the price that they come back with was a showed you. So the board shouldn't accept that $40 a yard. That's crazy. You can call Ralph down here or anybody and find that out. Thanks.
My contention is that the 3 proposals we've had in the past all had major failings in them in financing, the long pipes, different things. And the last one wasn't a true constructed wetland. It had no plants in it. It was a gravel thing. And I didn't realize that. And I thought, here this guy's got all this experience, constructed wetland. And then when I found out, I was a little bit upset. It's an 18-foot rectangle, and the reason it was it was to hold water to go into the treatment plant. It was not a wetland. It was a gravel screening. And the wetlands aren't 18 feet deep. They're the height of this desk, maybe a little higher. They're like flat ponds. You can see them if you look on the internet and see their construction, and they're used for all these different jobs, and each one of them is different. The plant community they put in them, the way they're constructed, and everything else. And that's why you need an experienced firm that actually has constructed wetlands.
But he's built all of those. He wrote the book on them. Just like you said.
No, George. You took him out and showed him water, and this is what you wanted, and that 18-foot gravel thing was to hold water for like a surge tank for the water treatment plant. It wasn't a wetland.
It sounds like it's your decision either make it or not.
I know.
But we got to move.
Right.
I don't think
It had nothing to do with the discussion.
Okay.
Jim was there with him.
Yeah, I think
He
we're
was
getting
the one that was
redundant.
Trying to figure it out.
Okay, I think we're getting redundant, and so it looks like Ken just told me, I guess it's up to me since I'm the president. And later on, if you want to be president, make it known. But anyway, I'm the president, and because of that, I think a wetland would be great, but I don't think it is for water, potable water. That's my feeling. So I think it's to get crud. It's for plants to filter crud, and I don't think that's our problem. And so I don't want to form an ad hoc committee. If George wants to call those people, that would be fine with me. But I don't think we should spend any more time on it myself. And like I said, if I'm not president next year, then somebody else can do it if they want to. My feelings. Okay, let's go back to 5B, Information System Manager, Treasurer Phillips.
We're going back to, you were out of the room.
You were out of the room. We skipped you.
We're going to give you overs, though.
Information manager.
Are we taking a break?
No, not yet. This is going to be fast.
This is the position that was approved in the budget this current year for a new information systems manager. Is that correct? If you remember, we did have a job description in there, but the job description was not still approved by acceptable, yeah. And so we've had Emily working on this, and we discussed this through negotiations, and so we are now bringing back the job description for board approval.
Okay. Where is it? Okay, I guess it should be. You didn't have anything written up, huh? Or where is it?
I didn't remember.
On page 86.
Just 86.
Oh, page 86?
86. Information Systems Manager.
Okay, I move we approve the Information Systems Manager's job description as presented.
Second.
I'll second, okay.
Okay, been moved and seconded. Any discussion?
Question, do
What's
we
it
have
gonna
anybody in mind for this position?
It's in the budget.
No, I don't have the budget in front of me, Larry. What's it going to cost for the,
It was the range of the person, I have to get that real quick. I can't remember off the top of my head. It's going to be between, I think the, I better just find it.
It's gonna be 120 with overhead, right?
That's what, the range is between, I believe, 55,000 and 72,000. And the job, if a person internally that has the skills to fill that position gets that position, then the transition from that salary to this salary would be a zero effect, but there would be upper range for that person to grow into that position.
do we have anybody on staff that can grow into it?
Yeah, I was going to say that.
Yeah.
And then we'd backfill her position with a entry-level customer service person.
Someone starting at the bottom of
And
it.
so to answer your question, we do have somebody internally that is qualified.
Okay, are you going to offer this position out, or is it just going to be done internally?
It's gonna be outside and internally.
We'll fly the position outside and inside.
I looked through the checkbook back here, and I couldn't find any expenses for computer services. So what are we spending now for computer services?
We spend, it's on a time-by-time basis, and it's with Wayne Howe. And so it varies. So it could be a couple thousand one month and zero the next month. Rarely is it over $5,000 a month. It just is based on what our needs are for that thing. But the main part of this is there's a hole right now that we have of technology. We're very technology reliant. And so if something was to happen, an emergency of some sort, and we didn't have somebody on staff to satisfy us at that time, we'd be really kind of up the creek. But also, us moving forward and using the technology that we've established, this person's going to take us into the future on that side, for sure.
Well, this is because,
One thing we can obviously consider is that by filling the position with somebody in-house and then filling that position with somebody in an entry-level position, we'd be saving money over hiring somebody at that from the outside and still paying the person we're thinking inside is at the top of their pay scale.
And if the person fulfills what we're whoever we select has the skills that we are looking for, then we will be gaining efficiencies in our field operations. It's very paperwork intensive right now. It is very antiquated is probably the best word for it. And so part of this person's new task is going to be to move the operations people into a more user of technology.
What about is this going to be a security thing too?
Absolutely. That's one place also that we're kind of reliant that we are secure, but to really know if we're secure, I don't know. I'm not the expert on that. And with customer data, privacy, hacking, all that stuff coming up, kind of exposed in that way.
Right.
It just takes one time for that to happen, and we're really going to be screwed.
Right.
Yeah, I'll just remind you too, our current person is a full-time employee of Butte College, and he does a fine job. But we as an agency, in my opinion, have a responsibility to plan for catastrophic events. If we have a fire coming up the valley that's threatening Butte College, don't know that we're going to be his first priority. If we have an earthquake, if we have any type of catastrophe that you see every year on the news in some community, that probably will hit that agency as well, and we're second.
Have you looked into any outside firms, what they would cost for, in other words, they're full-time computer businesses? There's several in Paradise. Does any of them have capabilities of helping with this?
We did a couple of years ago. We brought that to the board, and
and this person would be doing a lot more duties than just maintaining the system. There's a lot of internal report writing, internal computer knowledge of helping our field staff with their managing their mobile solutions, managing the internal products, software products, and using those more efficiently inside. So it's kind of apples and oranges. I think there's a lot of what this person will be doing will overlap another one, but there won't be the overlap on the other side from an outside agent or outside consulting firm coming in and doing that. So
Well, using an outside agency is just the equivalent of using Wayne.
correct.
That's because he's not dedicated to the district. He's dedicated to whatever his job is. And we are just a client. Exactly.
So we're kind of hiring Wayne, because Wayne Wayne does that for Butte College. He doesn't just monitor the servers. He's helping the whole staff there with their computers and with their whatever issues they need, if they need a program written or whatever. That's Wayne's job.
He's their
That's
in-house IT guy. And
That's
it's what
right.
he does.
We're kind of hiring that Wayne person that Butte College is hiring.
Well,
Yes.
okay, with the efficiencies we gain, can you put a dollar figure to them or anything?
It's hard to put a dollar figure on those efficiencies because it's
We haven't had a chance to implement them.
right, and it's how do you put a dollar figure on a catastrophic event happening and you being in a secure place and making sure all your data's secure, and how do you put a dollar figure on making sure that when a person's down helping a customer that they can actually have data there to help that customer find their leak or show them the graphs that are coming through.
Is this budgeted at some rate?
It's budgeted this year,
Yeah, it's in the budget for
Yep.
this salary at 55 or what?
Yeah, it was budgeted at the entry level.
Entry level rate.
Bottom of the range.
Okay.
Okay, remind the board, we're just approving a description of this job. We're not hiring the person or spending any money tonight.
We've already
We've already approved the money.
Yeah, it's in the
Right.
budget, that's what I was
You
asking.
you spent the money.
I thought earlier that we already approved at least a format of this.
I think that was in closed session, Doug. I don't think that was.
We discussed it in closed session.
Yeah, that's why we can't talk more
This is
about
bringing
it.
it out to public. Okay.
I'm going to make a motion to approve the information systems manager.
No, too late.
Didn't somebody else already do
Did
that?
someone do it?
yeah.
Sorry, I
I was
was
trying to
missing
move
there.
us on. And
Right. Okay, it's
took a
been moved.
detour.
Anybody from
You did it
the audience
at
would
the earlier
speak to
spot.
this?
Sorry.
All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? Passes 5-0. Okay, did you want to take a break, or has everyone taken their own break?
I want to get some popcorn.
I will if we need to be.
You want to? Okay, let's take, let's come back in 5 minutes.
All right.
5 of 9.
Okay. Sounds good. Thanks, Tony.
Okay. Call back to order. The next item on the agenda is 6D. Is it 6D? I turned the page.
6D or 5D?
5D.
There you go.
5D. There is no 6.
94.
Oh, there is 6 down there, yeah. Okay. It's 5D. Water Energy Nexus Grant. Manager Barber.
Yes, sir. Well, you have my written report that covers it pretty well. At this point, it's just an informational item. I have not heard back on whether the in-conduit hydro for here at the office would be a viable or reimbursable through the grant. But I have spoke to Mike Trinka at Parks and Rec, and he seemed excited and interested. He's working on some numbers for us to be able to do one of the big things that gets funded in this program is cash for turf, taking out grass and getting paid for it. Probably a little tough in our community to gauge whether that would be successful or not. So what we were going to do is work with the Parks and Rec to do a demonstration project. They have a couple of hillsides that have lawn that they'd like to rework. So this grant would provide them the funds to take that grass out and replace it with a more water efficient landscaping.
Individuals like well, I quit watering my grass a year ago.
Yeah.
So I bet a lot of people have. So now they're going to pay me to change it?
Quite a few agencies, probably more Southern California focused, pay $2 to $4 a square foot to take grass out.
Wow. Even though it's dead?
Yeah. Even though it's dead.
Not dead anymore.
Problem with dead grass. Problem with dead grass is when it rains, it comes back.
That's true. As soon as it starts raining. Okay, so this information only. Any questions?
Good
Public?
report. Hope we can capitalize on it.
Just a quick to your comment. Tony Carroll, I'm just a customer. Talking about the grass situation, and I come from Southern California, so I wanted to clarify that. They did pay us to take out grass down there, and that helped with the cost of putting in the new landscaping, which would be, hardscape, could be rocks, could be little, plants that are more
Artificial
energy
turf?
efficient. So that incentivized a lot of people to do that, and we did see a lot of good positive changes from that.
Would you artificial turf you could put in there, huh?
Yeah, absolutely. Whatever suits your liking.
Uh-huh. Okay.
I
Thank you.
have a
Thanks,
question
Tony.
on Aquahawk.
On who? On what?
From George, on George's presentation, Aquahawk.
Aquahawk. Oh.
Yeah, it's one of the potentials.
Oh, okay.
Sign up reward. How many customers do we have on Aquahawk now? I keep asking this question.
It's in the 650 to 700 range.
650 to 700 of 10,000?
Yeah.
Yeah.
We as directors got to talk about it more and more and more.
Mickey's done a little bit of analysis, and our customers that have signed up for Aquahawk in September saved 3% more water than our general customers. So they do tend to result in a
How many dollars would that be?
dollars what?
Of water, you said they save 3% of their water.
Not that much,
Well, not a lot of dollars.
no.
How much have we lost because of cutting back in revenue?
Since we started the conservation, it's getting close to 500,000.
500,000 total? That we,
Since the conservation.
because see,
presentation.
Marysville on the news today, they're losing 400,000 a year
We're
because of the
We're gonna probably be,
probably more after the end
Be,
of the,
yeah, calendar year will be $500,000.
yeah.
I thought,
They're paying somebody $60,000 to come up with a 218 formula. So there's something you guys are doing for us, save us money.
I just, get back to Aquahawk, we got 650 customers. The last time I asked, there was around 500 customers a couple of months ago. So I'm going 10,000 customers are supporting whatever Aquahawk costs us, the district, a month, for the advantage of 650 customers?
No, it's the advantage of the ones that have signed up. 10,000 customers have the opportunity to sign up.
Yes, but
And just remember the league policy that you just approved will require them to sign up.
Yeah, they,
It requires our customers to sign up to
Doesn't require
Aquahawk?
No, but it requires them if
It
they want
costs-
to
we,
get relief.
we have a monthly bill from that company for 10 cents a meter, as I remember. $1,000.
$1,000 a month, that's absolutely right.
So it's 10 cents a month. The cost is $10,000 for them to hook it up.
Correct,
Yes.
that was the initial buy-in, correct.
Okay.
Quick question on Aquahawk.
Yes.
I tried to sign up for it, and since where we are living now, until we move to the other house, the account is not in our name. And I should say Susan tried to sign it up for us, but and she couldn't. Oh, you can?
you have to get,
It's been there, so there you get the landlords or the owner information.
Okay, well, she tried to do it, and the landlord, I don't know whether she got a hold of her or whether she didn't respond, but that takes a third of the residences out of Paradise, because a third of the residents in this town are rental properties.
You just have to ask their landlord and they can sign up.
She's in Washington State, and, who knows? Yeah, but it was
If
just
a
that-
cus,
it would've saved her
I guess
money.
it doesn't matter if the renter's paying for the water or not, huh?
Yeah, 'cause it's, we've always been on the,
Property owner,
property owner.
yeah. Okay. Any other questions? We'll move on to the next item.
Let's try to get out here before midnight, that'd be great.
Right. Communication among directors regarding election of officers for 2015, and discussion regarding director interest and expectations for serving as president or vice president, as well as visions of what they would like to see the district accomplish in the next 4 years, and suggestions on how to be more efficient as a board. Now, this is a completely voluntary thing. The reason I brought it up is because I've been on quite a few boards, and I've always wondered how they arrive at who's president or not, and I'm without violating the Brown Act. And so therefore, I thought it would be a good item to put on the board, on the agenda, so that we won't be tempted to violate the Brown Act.
Is that next month that,
It's next month, right? So, does anyone want to volunteer? I'll let anyone who wants to speak first. Okay,
Sure.
Seth raised his hand. Okay, he's going to talk first.
Okay, so I basically just wrote this down. I would like to once again be vice president and president in the next 4 years. With my previous experience in these positions and my increasing knowledge of the district's inner workings, I feel I can do a very good job in these offices. As for
What
my
did you want?
visions,
What was your?
Vice president and president.
Oh, either one? Or, but what do you want for 215? What position would you like for 215?
vice president,
Oh, vice president. Okay, that's what I thought he said. Okay.
yeah.
Okay.
As for my visions for the districts, I feel the board's relations between ourselves and staff needs a lot of work. We have done an excellent job with the public, but would like to see some work done on our relationships in these areas between the board and staff. I would also like to see us start being more productive in getting needed projects started and moving forward in the quickest, most economical way possible. This will benefit our customers both financially and with improved service. There is no cheap fix to the problems and needs of the district, but sometimes just taking too much time to explore too many options drives up the price for us not acting promptly. And letting the public know that these projects will require increased rates to pay for them should not be something that we as a board should shy away from. Seems too many times we try to hide the fact, or not hide the fact, but say, oh gosh, we just don't want the public to spend any more money, but we've got to, all these projects we've got to do. It's better just to get it out there and say, these are going to cost money, and through the course of time, rates will go up. It's not a secret. It's just the way the world works. There is no commodity in the world that the people do not share in the increased cost of production. Our goal as a board should always be to provide the highest quality water at the most reasonable price we can, but we cannot let the district stagnate just to keep prices down. That was it.
Who else? Who wants to talk next? Raise your hand. Bill.
Well,
I didn't want to have any. I don't want to pick the order. That's why I'm doing this.
I really hadn't thought anything about this, but since you asked, Larry, I thought, I've only served as president of this board one time, and I strongly enforce the rules of conduct, or what do we call it?
Robert's Rules of Order?
No, it's, at any rate, the meetings were at least 2 hours shorter than the meetings we have now. The business got done. I'd like to try it again, in spite of conflicts and on issues in the district. I don't think that's any reason to deny somebody, because I think of the president of the board as being the presiding officer, and he helps everybody get the work done that's up. We'd cut down on talking so much as directors, which didn't appeal to a couple of directors when I served the last time. But I had other people that complimented me on running the thing pretty much by Robert's Rules of Order. And we got a lot of work done. We got it done quick, and I really enjoyed that. And I'd like a chance to try that again as president one of these days. I don't have much hope for it, but at any rate, I think I could really run some good meetings, and we wouldn't be here half the night.
Okay. What about any suggestions on how we could be more effective as a board?
This just what I said, and the other part of it is as far as controversy on the board, I think that's part of what a board has to do to go through issues. We shouldn't be a rubber stamp for George or anybody else or Kevin, and we should ask hard questions and get answers. And sometimes we get surprised by asking those questions. So I think that's part of doing the job as a board member. I don't think of it as a bad thing at all. I think it brings out issues, and we find out things that we wouldn't otherwise.
Okay. Who's next?
Well, we're kind of running out of people.
Yeah, we are.
Well, I'll go ahead and speak then.
Okay.
I'll tell you that I would like to be the president for 2015 that's coming up, for the calendar year. Or actually, I guess it starts in December. The job of running the meetings needs to be controlled. I was the one responsible for getting some information down in a procedural fashion here. I think that maybe it could be tweaked a little bit. There are other techniques that the president of the board, who is really the facilitator, because the president's not going to have any more of a vote or make any more of an impact on the business that needs to be conducted for the public than any other board member. But we need to get this controlled more. Our interaction with the public is not as it should be. Too many times in the past we've had the public that debate with us or try to debate with us like they're board members. And they are not If they want to debate with us, then they need to be elected. I want to find some way to encourage a more diverse cross-section of public coming in here. We have public coming in here, probably as much as we've ever had in the past, but it's kind of like the same old faces. And we have people well, no, I like to see a new face. And that's what I think we need to have all the time. Not just somebody who is maybe like a wannabe board member that shows up here to speak on every issue and to give their opinion and to ask questions, but to get some people who just come in occasionally and know of our business here and want to see what it is that we do. And there, we don't really have an outreach program to encourage public members to come here, and I think that maybe that's something we should do. A lot of you guys might find that surprising. You think I don't like public, but maybe we offer them free popcorn to get some people coming by. Even if they're just curious, they come in, they sit, and they listen. Maybe they come back later on. We might get a good idea. We might get a comment that means something. But when we deal with the public, we need to control that meeting. I went to some classes on this down in Palm Springs, and if I'm elected president, if I can be president for next year, then that's what I'm going to focus on, is to ensure that all of the board members, just like Bill said, we're going to have differences. There may even be conflict, but we can control it, and we should have difference of opinions. Like, I don't like the wetlands, Bill does. So Bill says his piece, I say my piece, and we don't go out in the parking lot and get into a fist fight. And we don't do it here in front of the public. But we need to be able to say our business, and I'm hoping in a much more concise manner, instead of just going on and on and on about the same topics. And as president, I would try to control that without having a board member feel like they've been cut off and didn't get an opportunity to say all of their thoughts. It's a delicate area, but that's what I would attempt to do. And I'm afraid I would attempt to curtail some of the stories that we hear in as nice a manner as possible. As far as my vision for the district, I don't think that's I guess my vision is that we don't waste money, don't spend it on frivolous items, educate ourselves. It's kind of too bad that we don't have an educational requirement for board members. I've been on the board for now maybe about 10 years, I think. And during that time, I've gone to educational programs probably 6 of those 10 years, maybe 7, I'm not sure. And I've seen almost nobody else except me as a board member who is gone. And
you don't go to my Cal LAFCO meeting.
Yeah, that's true. I went early on because I wanted to get trained. And you can only learn so much by coming here 12 times a year, with a few committee meetings thrown in. And I had to get information from staff. I had to get information from other board members, and that's probably the most valuable area that a person can go to, are these type of conferences where you run across other people who maybe are in the same situation you are. But anyhow, that's not quite the story I wanted to tell. But anyhow, so I want to see the district get our processed water thing into a project and get it done. Get it all over with. We don't need to be fighting about this and trying to find alternative solutions when, we've said, okay, we have a vote, let's move in this direction. And I think we should then put our attention and energies to moving in that direction. Can I impact that? No, not really. I mean, my idea is I work well with the staff. I think staff would agree. I think highly of myself. I think I'm a pretty smart guy. But one thing I can guarantee you, and that is that I come prepared to these meetings. I read all of the data. I go through it. I'll highlight it. I'll ask questions. And that's what I have to offer as the president of the board. Somebody that I think will try to be fair and not dictatorial, and try to get some type of a public outreach program going to get more of the John Q. public in here. Various different people coming in and out. Anyhow, that's my spiel.
Doug?
Yeah, as Larry, as you mentioned, I've been on quite a number of boards in various areas, or worked for boards since 1960. And one of the things that you really got to do is keep everything on top of the table, what they call transparency now. And I've been doing that since 1960, had a lot of good mentors along the way, and it's paid dividends. I have been exceptionally successful professionally and personally, and I'm still doing that. And part of it's because of everything's on top of the table. And people know that, and that's why they still call me and hire me to do a variety of things. Definitely would like to be president. This is my second year on the board. And one thing I've observed at all kinds of boards, from universities to community colleges throughout, boards that rotate officers around function better than ones that have just a little clique that work on that. And I've just observed that over the years, and I've been president 2 or 3 times in different organizations, and I have no problem with you gentlemen. Ken was the president when I first started attending the meetings before I threw my hat in the ring, and as far as I was concerned, Ken, you did an admirable job. Sepp was following that, and I complimented him because I was on the board at that particular time and did a great job. No problem with any of that. Larry, you've done an awesome job this year, and particularly involving the public, so I have no problem with that. I watched Bill on other boards, but I never had the opportunity to watch him out here. So I really think we should pass this around. It may be a little too early for me to move into the president or vice president's role, although if I was called to serve, I'd be happy to do it, and I think I have the education, the experience to do it. But I realize, that I'm just 2 years on the board. But I do believe that it's better to pass leadership around, and really the president has, like Ken was saying, no more power than any one of the rest of us.
Except ad hoc committees.
Except ad hoc committees.
Oh, that's right.
or committee appointments, Committee appointments and ad
No,
hoc.
committee appointments are done by the board. Just ad hoc.
No, committee appointments. It's the formation of a standing
Standing committee.
Yeah, committee appointments.
Yeah, and committee appointments.
Yeah. We don't even approve your committee.
No.
No, you just do as you damn well please.
Yeah. What is
How
this?
about that?
Everyone has in the past.
One of the things I would like to, and it says you're not having any financial thing. I come prepared. And I've been doing this ever since I got on boards, because a couple times I showed up years ago not prepared, as you can see on here. I don't read every word, but I know what's going on, and I've been doing that. And never will change in that particular fashion. And I appreciate the way that George and Kevin works with me on that and answering my questions on there. Quite concerned, always concerned about the budget and the reserve that we're utilizing or not utilizing. And so I'm going to really be looking at how we're going to be rebuilding our reserve thing. And Kevin and I have talked about that in pretty good detail. Because of the fact, all you got to do is look at page 15. But so, I really have no pick for, other than I think maybe it would be very nice to have Director Kellogg involved because he's been here a long time, and I know he knows how to run a good meeting, because I've observed him not here but other places. Good.
Okay, my turn. It sounds like I've not been a very good president.
I said you've been a great president.
Well, I know you did, but the thing is I don't believe in high-handed things. I roll with it. I don't. In fact, when I came back from the hospital, I had 3 people compliment me that they said they missed me at the last meeting and they wish I'd have been here. And so that made me feel good. When it's somebody who has nothing to gain by saying it, it made me feel good. I think I like the way I run a meeting. I don't like the way some other people do, but that's the way it goes. You have things. My feelings on myself, I would like to be a president at least 1 year out of each of my terms. And I think that's only fair because we have 4 years and there's five people, so somebody gets started. Yeah. But anyway, I think I've been president a couple of years out of 12. But I know we do have a policy that says that you can serve 2 years in a row, which is a good policy. There's pros and cons to that. The thing I remember Sepp, I think when he became president, he really blossomed. You really became a far better board member when you were president, and I thought that was really great.
That was a fun year.
Yeah, and
all
I think
around.
that was great.
There was one thing that wasn't too.
Yeah, there was a lot of great. That was a great year. Yeah.
Well, but that's how you learn. And about the fact that it bothers me that they write in here that we're wasting time and everything like that. But to me, having debates, as long as you stay civil, it's very healthy, I think. I hate to go to a meeting and everyone says 5-0 and they don't have any discussions or anything. It makes you think that they're meeting before and deciding what they're going to do. And I know they don't do that, but it has that look of it. So anyway, so I enjoy that as long as it does. The thing that amazes me and amuses me is the people who complain about how long the meeting are usually the people who do the most talking. And I don't understand. How can you complain about how long the meeting is if you're one of the problems? And is it really a problem? We only meet once a month. When I came on board, we were meeting twice a month. And so, of course, your meetings are going to be longer because of it. But it does save money for the district because the staff doesn't have to spend as much time preparing for 2 meetings and so forth. And so
saves on director fees,
right.
Saves on that attorney fee.
Right, yeah. So all of it saves money all the way. And I think I've been accused of being a liberal.
Yeah.
I don't think I am a liberal. I'm very conservative. And my number one object is to give good service to the customers, but unfortunately you can't be the low bidder on things when it happens. I mean, it always bothered me when people say that the guy's up there in space and he's up there and the low bidder got the job. And, it's funny. But the thing is that I feel I've been here 12 years, and I think that our board has accomplished a lot, and I'm very proud of it. Because like I said at the open house, I didn't drive one nail or do one thing, but I feel like I was part of it. And I hope all the other board members are proud like I am. And I think the fact that we didn't have any challenges at the last election, the majority of people feel that we are doing a good job. And I don't mind when we get our name in the paper, but I don't know. The thing is, the only way you can get people out here is to tell them that you're going to raise the rates, and then they come out. But unfortunately, but the other side of the coin is, if they're not coming out, they must be pleased with what we're doing.
That's our new public outreach program.
I know. That's what worries me. Right. But anyway, I think that we at times get a little off the subject and everything, but I think it's healthy, and I wouldn't change the way I run meetings at all, and I'm sure everyone else feels the same way about the way they run them. And if somebody wanted me to be president again, it'd be fine, but it'd probably be better if somebody else was. And I don't know who it's gonna be since everyone wants to be president. So it'll, oh yeah, Seth said well, see, he knew he wasn't gonna be president, so he's picked vice president.
Smart move.
I just think it's better to move up.
Move up the thing, yeah. Right, well, that's how you do the progression.
You can't have a coup if you're in the top seat anyway, so.
Right. Okay, so that's all I had to say. Anybody from the public wish to make any comments? Okay, there was no action on this. Butte County Special Districts Association election for 2015-16 ballot. Consider voting for 2 non-enterprise and 2 enterprise executive board members. And authorize submittal of the ballot as approved by the board. Did you want to, does anyone have any suggestions on the ballot?
I did Jim Brinson and Ann Willman and Jamie, I guess, how do you say it?
Boucher.
Boucher, okay, that's why that, and Ken Hunt.
Well, Dwayne Long's there quite often.
Yeah.
Okay, so I didn't know.
He's always a big supporter.
Between Jamie and Dwayne.
Ann.
I had to pick 2.
Where did Ann come from?
Wanted to see Ken go, so it was a toss-up between the other one.
Right.
I believe she's the new manager of the Feather River Parks and Rec District.
Oh, okay. They change quite often, don't they?
Yeah, a lot of controversy at that district.
Yeah.
Some real wrestling matches.
Okay. Could be a board member on there, but I think it's the manager.
Oh, that is the manager, yeah. Okay, well, so you're in favor of Jim and Ann, correct? Sep?
Yes.
They're both Jims.
Jim Brinson and Ann?
Brinson and Willman.
And then Hunt and?
Boucher.
Boucher, okay. What about you, Ken?
I would go for Ann Willman, Brinson, Hunt, and Long.
Okay, how about you, Bill?
Jim Brinson, Ann Williamson, Jamie Boucher, and Dwayne Long.
Okay, Doug?
I'll go for Jim Brinson, Ann Woolman. I really don't know Long or Brochure, either one of those. And I guess I'll go with James and Ken Hunt.
Okay.
And Larry?
Me, I guess I get to, okay, I wanted Jim Brinson and Jim Boogerman. I'm the only one voting for that guy.
Did we say that last name?
Boogerman. Jim. And the reason is because he's not.
I bet he didn't hear that in elementary school.
Right. But the reason I didn't, Ann isn't a board member, and that's the reason I wasn't going for her. And then I would go with Dwayne Long and Ken Hunt. So, anybody want to change their nominations?
Well, it sounds like someone just needs to make a motion.
Did you add up?
Right, I'm adding up the votes. It looks like Jim is in, and Ann is in.
So I'll make a motion for
Ken
Jim Brinson,
and
Ann Willman, Jamie Boucher, and Ken Hunt.
He's still trying to get Jamie in there.
Who was the second one?
Ann Willman,
Oh, okay.
Jamie Boucher, and
Okay.
Ken Hunt.
Is there a second?
I'll second it.
Who seconded?
I'll second that.
Okay, it's been moved and seconded. Roll call, please.
Director Corolla?
Yes.
Vice President Hunt?
Yes.
Director Fleischer?
Yes.
Director Kellogg?
Yes.
President Duncan?
Yes, unanimously.
You
Okay.
snuck that in, Seth. That was good.
Okay.
So again, we can sit here all night on something that.
Economic Forecast Conference.
This is not necessary after your recent earlier approval in the year.
Because it's in the budget. I have some questions, though. Can we take a poll to see who wants to go?
Yeah, it's on the agenda.
Okay. Who wants to go to this?
I would like to go this year if my schedule affords.
Okay.
I was not going to go this year.
Not going to?
I'm going to go.
You want to go?
Yes.
Okay, so that's 3.
Were you going to go?
I want to go, and yet I don't want to. Have they quit smoking at the casino? Is it still at the casino?
I thought you were going to say.
Well, in the
private.
event center, I don't think there's any smoking.
No, there's no food. I mean, there is food, but
I've had the good fortune of going 2 times. Well, that I went for a number of years on private industry council. But are we under city council?
No.
Or are we up here just earlier?
We
They
just,
don't fit us under
January
city
1st.
council.
right, didn't one year we get it free?
We got it free and then they switched it up.
Yeah, right.
So we're at now early
How many
registration
staff?
individuals?
How many staff are going?
I think I was gonna pass this year.
Were you? How about you?
You guys are going.
I haven't decided
You haven't decided yet?
if the board would.
I've gone to a lot of them. I don't know. It just seems like, at first I thought it was good information, but lately it hasn't been good
They've
information.
gotten less about economic forecast and more about pumping up local business opportunities.
Uh-huh. I
When
think
we
so
first
too.
started going, it was a full day of just economic experts.
Right.
Now you get about 2 of them.
Uh-huh. Right.
Well, I know the 2 I've attended recently that I've attended for a number of years when I was working with TIC, I always came away with some good, solid information.
The one that bothered me was when they said it don't matter who the president is, one person can't mess everything up.
That was actually Abe Lincoln. No one person can screw, that was Abe Lincoln. He said no one person can.
No, this
screw
was
the
a guy
country.
at the conference.
Yeah, but he was probably quoting Lincoln or borrowing.
Oh, I don't know. But anyway, that lost my confidence in.
Hell, I was there when old Abe said that. I remember it.
Okay, so do you need who's going now? No. Okay, so just,
Let Georgiana.
Why don't
Let-
you tell our company?
If we can go.
Okay.
Tentatively, yes. I'll know by the next meeting.
okay, there won't be enough to buy a table, so you do save money if you have enough people.
Yeah, see, if there was enough of us going or buying a table, then it would most likely be room, whether or not I decide to go or not.
Right.
I never know. I mean,
Yo, you don't. know.
January 10th, I could have a huge project come in, and
Yeah, right. What day of the week is this?
Thursday, I think I looked at the
Thursday?
schedule Thursday.
It's usually on a Thursday.
Okay. Okay, how soon do you need to know?
January 1st, otherwise it will go possible.
January 1st. Okay, so if you haven't told Georgiana you're going, do so before January the 1st.
Now, that'll come out of our new budget,
Correct.
Right. Good.
Which you'll send next month.
which we'll know next month.
We're gonna assume it'll be over $109.
Oh, I thought we were going to cut it.
That includes a good lunch.
A good lunch. It's breakfast too. One year they didn't serve breakfast.
They didn't.
And they got a lot of complaints, right. Okay, committee reports. Finance Committee. I'm the chairperson, but I'm going to turn this over to Hunt because I want to make him work, earn his money.
Wow. Good thing I didn't go to sleep during that.
Yeah, right. Well, there's several reasons why I'm having you do it.
I know.
Okay.
When is it we met? November 5th. Is that it? Yeah.
They're early in the month.
There's the package of stuff. Okay, so we did a lot of business in regard to the reserving funds with Kevin. That was the bulk of the meeting, and we got through all of the areas that we needed to get through. Gave Kevin direction, asking some questions, and he is working on that, and will be coming back to present that to the Finance Committee again. I believe we're going to see it. And then once we sign off on it, then we'll be bringing that to the board, who is going to figure out how to fund it.
Right. Right, that's the job.
That's the job. The other issue is something that I brought up. It was from an idea from conversation I had down in at the conference, and it's about the it's about the Paradise Lake. So I had asked for Paradise Lake financials and took a look at it because I've got this oddball scheme, an oddball idea that I brought up to discuss and see what the financials of it were, with the idea that staff could carry it forward and look into it and talk to the people who are involved, and then come back with a staff recommendation, and then hand this off back to the Lake Committee for discussion. But the gist of the idea is this. We've got this lake up there that people like. It's a paradise deal. We fund it. Our ratepayers pay for it. We have a small, moderate, little tiny fees that we charge people. And in the past, I've been a champion of increasing those fees to get more money for that, because we are losing money in our recreation situation there. With the labor that we have year after year after year after year. And so the question was this: would we save money if we made it free to the public? We won't charge the public for coming in.
I want to see
No
the look on
parking
you guys'
fees.
faces.
No parking fees, no boating fees. What is it, about 80 or 90,000 a year, maybe, expenses?
More than that.
More than that. It just
Yeah.
depends on how you divide security and recreation.
Yeah, that's right. But what we get are these, it's an honor system to just put your money in these little envelopes that cost us a lot of money to produce these little envelopes. And then it cost us money to collect this cash. And it costs time and effort from Greg to run around and say, well, whose car is that over there? I don't see a sticker on your car. You must not have paid. And it irritates a lot of people. And it would be nice maybe if we did something that would be seen as being really large and nice to the public, and we still save money. Well, how are we going to save money, you might say? I haven't talked about expenses yet. If we don't have to collect the money and pay for the envelopes, Greg's time can be spent, and there's even clerical time in here for counting all the coins and pennies and dollars and that are wadded up and thrown in there. We can save all that. But if we cut back on our what used to be a temporary lake position, and we just don't have that position. We don't fund it. We don't pay for benefits for it. We don't do that. We keep Greg there because we need to have a security look at the lake, which is what the job would more come toward. If Greg can't take care of the security end of the business and where he needs to be, and he manages a lot of the forestry crews that come by, and the hacking and clearing and burning and stuff. If we need to subcontract out maybe and get a honey pumper thing, for the septic systems, and have them come in and get those on a scheduled basis. I'm not sure. It needs to be worked out. But if we just let the public come in, the amount of money that we would not collect, we would save in this other person's wages and benefits. We still provide the same things at the park there. There was a class, there was a feature, in fact, I think he was a featured speaker down in Palm Springs. And he was talking about trust, the issue of trust. And we might want to continue to have our little payment envelopes there. but we'd just change it over to 100% donation. If you like our facilities and want to help contribute to our maintenance and maintaining them and expanding them, please feel free to donate whatever you want to donate. Then we don't have to count it. It just comes in here and it gets put in through the system, and it goes into a restricted fund probably if it's going to be a donation like that, because we're telling them what they would donate for. But I suspect that we might collect an awful lot of money on donations rather than telling people that these are the fees. And we cut back on that other position because we wouldn't need it in this particular case. So I don't know if there's still more issues with it. Certainly there's union people that are involved. George is looking into that and talking about it. I wanted to bring it up in a public session at this particular time because I had it brought up in the Finance Committee. Well, before it can move over to any other directors or over to the Lake Committee, it needs to be brought up to the public, and so we're clear in the air. And then I expect that George, perhaps in not too many more weeks, can pull together a Lake Committee meeting and get them to look at it, and perhaps we can go in. This is kind of my last little idea. If we can get the Lake Committee to look at it and have a report brought back to the board in December and talk about the pros and cons, and then let us make a decision in January. But because the new lake fee season comes in here January 1st, I would say that until the board makes a December in January, we wouldn't sell any annual passes in January or December that we might have to give the money back to. We would just let January go for free. And if we decide that we don't like that idea and we want to keep it the way it is, then we would sell our annual passes and start collecting money again in February. But that way we won't get in any hot water about collecting some fees from some people and not other people. So there you have it. So that's what we did at our finance meeting.
Okay.
I thought that was your campaign speech for the upcoming season.
Well, I know I heard some jaws drop.
I had to look at.
I just thought I heard Aquahawk as the same idea.
Okay, Lake Committee.
Water Conservation Committee?
Oh, wait. I checked that off. Okay. Yeah, Water Conservation Committee.
Yes, we met on Thursday, October the 6th, and had a very good meeting, several items of business. George gave a report on the water supply, which I'm sure you're going to be giving this evening. The committee discussed about that, having the changing of the message board down at the Paradise Recreation and Park District to adjust timers and turn off your sprinkler with the rains and the turbidity and all of that other type of stuff. And then I gave a report on our winter preparation for the demonstration garden, which is up here in the corner you're aware of. George had me work with Jim, the other Jim, and they had one of the beginning backhoe operators that went in and did the tillage work on it, and was just getting ready to do some stuff, and we seeded it. Director Kellogg furnished the seed for it, and we put down a pond ground crop, and got a great germination. It's looking really well, and the place needs to be composted. And we have a donation coming up in the spring from the Durham Worm Farm, and really didn't have time to do it. And our resident experts on composting, Ward Embry, was not available, and I didn't have a second, didn't want to impose on the crew to do any of that. And so we'll look at it and see if we get out of this drought. That's the big thing we're waiting for. If for some screwball reason, and let's hope I'm in error, we're not out of the drought like we were this year, what we'll do in March, we'll go in and mow it, work it up, and follow it for the summer. It'll work out really well. Then we had ParadiseSavesWater.com website. Mark and Tanya, you're going to be talking about that a little later?
Pardon me?
.com saves water. You and Mark gave a presentation on that. You're going to do it a little later, or we've talked about it
I
enough?
think we've done that.
All right, update on the outdoor landscaping video, which we're going to be putting together, and you're working on that?
Correct, we're working on one.
Okay, good. And we're going to be changing our meetings to every other month, at least for the time being now. So our next meeting is on Thursday, January the 15th. And earlier in the meeting, I thought maybe we were going to be selling the garden spot. But what we've been doing to it is certainly enhance it, because there was a dump on top of it, and underneath of it was an abandoned leach field, but things are looking great. And apparently we're going to have the garden spot because we moved not to sell it. That's my report.
Any questions?
Also, if I can add in.
Thank you.
I'd like to make a request of the board that we purchase 500 daffodil bulbs for the rest of behind the post rock and some areas that we've got up here. They have them for $100, which is about, I believe, 1/5 of their normal cost. Something like that. I don't know. Something like that. I think it was 1/5. I think 1/5 of their normal cost. So 500 bulbs for $100, if the board sees fit. Last year they donated them to us. 1,000.
And they put them in front of those post rocks.
Then they planted them too.
And they look beautiful. Yeah, they planted them.
So
and they're starting.
The garden club. I'm sorry.
Well.
The garden club.
Okay, you have to put that on the agenda.
It'll go on the consent calendar in December.
Okay.
Yeah, so, well, we'll want to put that on the consent calendar then.
Okay, that's it?
Thank you.
Yes.
Okay, the Lake Committee, we met on November the 12th, and we talked a lot about the, it seemed like we talked a long time, but I guess it was mainly about the projects updates. And has anything come about more than at the meeting? It seemed like a lot of things were pending.
We're still waiting, but we're working on some grant options for more shady field break work.
Okay. And then Greg, it was very hard that, it was very hard. I had to bite my tongue so many times because I didn't want to say what you just reported on. and of course everyone was talking about how much our revenue is going to be in the future and so forth and that. And I bit my tongue on that, and that's why I had him give the report on the financial, because I told him I won't take the credit for it. You need it more than I do. And so forth. And then we had they're trying to do a fundraiser at the Paradise Charter Middle School, and I guess it's going to be they hadn't decided how long it was going to be or so forth, but they're looking at maybe a 30-day window.
The details have been worked out.
They have been worked out? Okay, do you want to report on that? Okay.
There was a lot of collaboration between Northern, myself, Roland, and Chris Reed's the principal. So what was determined is parents will drop off bags of recyclables, aluminum and plastic at the school in a perimeter corral that I will erect right where the kids get picked up. The PID trucks will transfer the bags to the collection center at Northern down Clark on either a daily basis as needed. Now, it's only from January 5th through January 15th, 10 days of our efforts to take the recyclables. We didn't want to have the parents taking the recyclables. That would Chris Reed, principal, said that would be too onerous for the parents. So since it's a fundraiser for Kids Fishing Day, the use of our trucks would be suitable in our time. Because I believe we'll collect quite a bit of money. That's the plan that's in place right now.
Are we going to do that other thing with the...
Yes. Northern, as I did that, arranged all that, Northern agree that April event for the Ace Hardware drop-off location would be acceptable.
Before the fishing day or after?
Yes. So we'll.
That was a lovely sunny day last year.
Yeah.
Or earlier this year, yeah, I remember that.
Right. So Northern is fully supportive of both events.
Very good.
Thanks, Jim.
And that was, we talked about the forest health contract and the forest health project, which we haven't finalized yet. And do you have anything to add, Doug?
No, I thought it was a very good meeting, and we
Seemed like we did a lot, but we really didn't.
we did a lot of dialoguing.
Yeah, right.
But the big thing was the forest health part of it, and that's a key part of that committee at this time of year. You know.
Right.
And
And
I might make a comment on Ken's comments out here. You're aware I'm pretty deeply involved in the fair industry up and down the state, primarily here in Butte County now. And a couple of fairs all of a sudden decided not to charge admission. And in fact, one of them said if you don't ride it, eat it, or wear it, it's free. And their attendance mushroomed. And boy, for the concessionaire and just people going to the fair, it was really a great activity out here. Because you got to realize, I don't know what it would cost a family to go up there and picnic, but at a fair, a family of three, a couple and their offspring, hell, you're dropping $80 before you ever get at the gate to go to the fair, you know. And so there's some good ideas about this, you know.
Right.
Yeah, we can talk about more.
Yeah, I don't think we should debate that.
No, I understand that.
Okay, and our next meeting is, for the Lake Committee, is January the 14th.
Well, see, that'll be after our January 10th.
Right. 12.
Well, we'll end up calling a special meeting just for this purpose, for the Lake Committee.
Oh, we will?
Oh, okay.
Oh, because we want to do something before that.
We're the 15th, Doug.
Yeah, you're the 15th.
Yeah, we're the 15th.
We were the 14th.
January, but they wanted to have a meeting for
You'd said the 12th.
The 10th.
Oh, yeah, for the
Of
other
board
one.
meeting. Remember, our board meeting is the 10th of December. Yeah, this time. So you're going to call a special meeting of the Lake Committee before the 10th of December.
We're trying to, yeah.
Okay, good. All right.
Talk to you about that.
Okay. Have you talked to Greg about it? Oh, okay, good.
Sure.
Okay, let's see. Next item on the agenda is General Manager's Report.
Okay, yeah, my written report. One thing before I forget, there was an update from utility billing, so that October reduction was actually 18.8%, not 13.9, and 29.09 million gallons.
That was
He
huge.
didn't want me to come discuss it because I'm hiding to myself with my cold. Nobody wants to talk to me, and I don't blame them. We got stairs completed between the upper parking lot and the building here. Those were done completely by our crews. Check them out. I thought they did a very good job. Nice to have that direct access without having to walk all the way around now. Looks pretty nice. We did a first level interview for our utility worker openings, and we've whittled it down. So we have a second level interview scheduled for December, and then we'll make a decision after that. We are we have 2 vacant positions. We have a third position that is been on workers' comp for a considerable amount of time, so we're looking at options, but we'll at least get 2 full-time positions filled with this hiring.
In what area?
It's utility workers.
Utility.
Entry level.
Okay.
Yeah. Pipeline update. The crews are working on Cherokee right now off of Nunley. That's 550 feet of 6-inch. They're moving along pretty good on that. We got a crew working on South Libby, at the end of South Libby. We've had subtract meters there, two subtract meters and one master meter, 3 customers all operate off of 1 meter reading, and then we subtract. It's one of those nightmares that we've tried to get rid of. We worked for a few years on a solution that would come in one direction, but we had an uncooperative property owner. So we've got a new solution to that. So we're running some 2-inch line and getting easements to be able to get those people off the subtraction situation. So we got 2 guys working on that. Our next pipeline projects, our priorities got shifted a little bit. PG&E's been doing their gas line replacement in town, and they went through Richmond, Thornburg, DeMille, and Harrison areas on the lower end of town off of Pence, and they had that completed, and then it turns out I believe they had some faulty T's, so they had to go back in. They're in the process of going back in and redoing all of that work. They gave the town of Paradise enough money to do an overlay on all of those projects, on all those streets. We have pipelines in Richburg, Thornburg, DeMille, and Harrison that they haven't come to the top of our leak list, but they're steel. They need to be replaced. So we're going to move over and work on those because we're only going to have to replace it with a couple inches of cold mix for asphalt repair, and that'll save us a lot of money not having to pave those areas fully. So
they're going to overlay the whole road, aren't they?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. After we get through.
Well, I was going to say, I walk the neighborhood. Dustin drives the neighborhood, and it's
live
there. Yeah. We go like at night, and you literally have to be watching where you're walking because you like trip on metal plates or.
It's a great opportunity for us. It'll cut our costs.
I was talking to Keith, and he said this couldn't have happened.
It's a good
feel
deal.
bad for PG&E, but they're PG&E, so I'm not really crying.
We're trying to work with the town fire marshal to get the fire department or our fire hydrant fund work moving again. Seems like every time they change command, things get lagged out before we can get a report back to both you and the town. So we're working on projects. We are suggested they do the 50-50 plan on Country Club. We can upsize that, and for us, there's an old cross-country main from the end of Country Club that goes all the way to Pence, so with a couple of relocations of services, we'll be able to abandon that whole section and replace Country Club. We haven't got their approval on that yet. They would like us to do a lower Skyway pipeline project with fire department funds. You probably saw in the paper the complaints when it is a small line. It hasn't leaked to our level to replace, and it was kind of put on hold because of the whole Walmart issue. So we're talking about the Skyway. We'll probably go in with a 6-inch, maybe an 8-inch down Skyway to cover all those services. And then if anything ever got built at Walmart or whatever, they're going to have to bring another line in to handle the fire flow. And 4-inch steel.
Weren't we originally saying like a 10-inch or something like that? Go down there if Walmart went? 12, okay. I remember it was a larger than 8.
What size line do we have going as far as the New Feather River Clinic?
12-inch.
12-inch there?
Yeah.
So we take off from there and go on down with whatever.
A little bit below there's a pressure regulating valve. We'd come out of that.
Okay.
Last thing is Jim was reviewing properties for potential wildfire reduction grants. It came to my attention that we've got 2 pieces of property that PID owns that I didn't know about that are up off of Lucretia. They're maybe 2 5-acre parcels. think the district had a building on one at one point. But at any rate, I'm getting the details, and I'll be bringing that back to you for consideration of putting on the market. We don't need it, and it's 100% surrounded by Forest Service land.
Where is it?
Well, it's not the map, but the road that comes into the dam,
Oh, way up
it's
there.
off of there in this section down here, right in the middle of the forest.
Yeah, it'll increase the address.
Is it across the creek from the 42-inch main line?
No, it's all the way up at
way.
Paradise Lake.
Way up by.
Butte Lake.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Lake.
Is it well, it's part of our watershed, isn't it?
Yeah. And that's
part of our watershed?
Yeah. Well, it'll run
Down to downstream, okay.
That would be for the Magalia Reservoir.
Yes.
I just wanted to make sure everybody understands that the new regulating agency for the drinking water is fully transitioned to the State Water Resource Control Board, Division of Drinking Water. Okay, remember it used to be Department of Public Health, Department of Health Services, a long time ago. DHS is gone, CDPH is gone, the State Water Resource Control Board, Division of Drinking Water is in. That's who we deal with now.
Is there a new
That's
motto?
important.
Are they the?
Is there a new motto?
Important to
Our
know.
water is their water?
The ones in Reading.
And George and maybe Dustin that.
Who's the one in Reading that's the?
There's no impacts on us.
Oh, no impact.
Well, not yet.
Not yet.
There will be.
We had our concerns. We'll
Well,
see.
well, our state water, our clean water, SRF loan kind of funnels through their division of financial assistance. And the BRES fully cover SRF will sort of get part of, that hasn't officially transitioned yet actually, but that's part of this transition, so I want you to know.
Okay, any questions? Where'd you get your cold?
Where'd I get my cold?
Yeah.
Him.
I thought you got it in Sacramento. Weren't you?
Yeah, I was going to let him.
Apparently
report.
interpersonal relationships with the district are going just fine.
Oh, okay.
I actually got my cold from cutting cedar.
Cedar, huh? Okay. Okay, any questions of the manager? Nothing? Okay, we don't have to know. Information only. Legal report.
Okay, I've got a few items for you. This was written in George's written report, but the State Water Board, the Division of Water Rights side of the shop, lifted curtailments. George and I, actually, when they imposed curtailments way back in May, you'll recall the district, along with a couple other of my clients, wrote a letter urging the State Water Board to immediately start working on how are you going to lift curtailments. And they ignored us and drug their feet. We had a meeting on November 3rd. Let me back up. We initially urged them hold some workshops to at least explain to us a process for lifting curtailments. They didn't do that. We next urged them, okay, pick a date. October 1's significant because that's the start of the water year. They ignored us. November 1 is the next date we selected. That's significant because by November 1, almost all the agricultural demand, the quote-unquote senior water rights in the system, are no longer diverting. They ignored that. We had a meeting with State Water Board staff on November 3rd. A lot of folks in the room from the Northern California area, State Water Board staff, and then a couple consultants such as myself. And the water right engineers in the room were adamant that the technical data was there to lift curtailments through a 1965 priority. and the State Water Board staff, again, kind of shined us on. So it was over a week later, they partially lifted curtailments. It's through a 1953 priority. So the district has 3 water rights. One is a pre-14 right, fairly small. That was never curtailed. And then 2 post-1914 rights, one with a 1916 priority and the other with a 1965 priority. The 1916 is now, you can now divert under it, which is good. That is the best of the 2 rights. It covers both reservoirs. The 1965 right has term 91 in it. It's still curtailed as of right now. So it's going to take probably some pretty significant storm events before they lift the curtailment as to that water right. But
I actually think from a technical standpoint, we could refill our reservoirs under old right.
yeah, we're good. Yeah, I agree. So that's where things stand. The state's really in a bad shape. Lake Orville, if you pass it on Pence Road, is historically low.
There's a lake out there?
Yeah, that little puddle.
No water skiing because of the dust, right?
Yeah.
What do they call it when the water will no longer flow out of it? Dead water, dead still?
Dead pool.
Dead pools. Well, a friend of mine is quite involved down there, and he said they're 6 feet away from a dead pool. In other words, there'd be no water could come out of the thing unless it's...
Yeah, that's about right. But of course, 6 feet is about 50,000 acre feet.
That's a lot of water. I realize that's a lot of water.
They've been losing 4,000, 5,000 acre feet a day.
Per day. Inflow
to the reservoir is off the charts, historically dry. They've never seen inflow as low as it's been. Even with all these storms, they haven't. We've had average weather, and they haven't had zero inflow.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So it's bad. Keep praying for rain. Next item, the test claim is moving along. My office associate of mine, Peter, helped a lot. We filed responsive comments to the Department of Water Resources comments. I think we put them in their place there. The trial is still scheduled for December 5th. I have a suspicion that's going to be pushed, but we'll see. They haven't done anything yet. We're supposed to see another version of the statement of decision, possibly even by this Friday. The normal timeline is you have a draft decision from staff, you have a round of comments, which we just finished, you have a next decision, and then you go to the trial. So we're waiting for that next decision to be published, and then we'll have the trial possibly on the 5th. So by the next board meeting, if that happens, that timeline stays, then I'll have more to report. The last item, this is an issue I've talked to you about before, but you may not recall it. It's been ongoing this is probably the 11th or 12th year, and that has to do with water right fees. The district every year pays fees for the 2 post-1914 water rights it holds. We've been filing under protest every year since 2003. And we're not a party to any lawsuit, but there are other water right holders that are party to a lawsuit. And that lawsuit went to trial in Sacramento, then to the appellate court in Sacramento, then to the California Supreme Court, then back to the trial court. They had another trial on it, and now it's currently in the appellate court. So it seems like every year for the last 8 years, I'm telling myself and others that I think this might be the last year. I don't,
Can they keep going back and forth?
They keep going back and forth. I don't think they're going to go back to the Supreme Court again, but they're definitely at the appellate level.
And it's all going in your favor every time, and it's being appealed.
We had a half win at the Supreme Court. We had a full win on the remaining issues in the trial court, and now it's in the appellate court. So, but you know, the effort of paying under protest is not that much. I mean, it's a little bit of my time. I have a large group of clients that do it, so it's shared. You're paying a little bit of my time to protect yourself if there is a successful outcome to this litigation and it results in a refund. So that's why we're doing that.
How much are the fees?
They're, let's see, I don't recall the exact, you were supposed to have a check for me actually tonight.
I forgot to tell
Blame it on the cold.
Checks in the mail.
No, really.
It's $150 plus 0.053 cents per acre foot. So yeah, it's 20,000 or something like that.
20,000.
Well, our lake's really empty, so we can only be able to count
Doesn't
the
matter.
water. We only count the water we have.
Paper water when it comes to fees.
Okay.
But it adds up. I mean, it's probably
200-300?
over 200,000 since 2003.
Yeah. Okay.
So unless there's questions, that's all I have.
Okay. Any questions? Okay. Staff reports. Review and consider acceptance. Bill, you got any questions?
No.
Staff reports?
No, not this
No?
time.
Doug?
I have just one on page 114. I noticed this full page rehabilitation of the treated water storage tank. Is that the one that's at the treatment plant that has the crack in the bottom or the corner?
There's actually 4 cracks in the corner, yes. They're going to fill with epoxy from the inside and then also from the outside.
Okay, yeah. Have they determined, and I'm sure AECom is going to check that, I mean, to see if the mountain slide.
I'm not involved in that.
No, but I mean, they're going to be checking geotechnical to see if the mountain's sliding?
Yes.
Yeah, okay, good. Because something's caused it to crack.
Yeah, that's some of their geotech look at.
That's not this project.
Geotech.
That's one of the additional components in their task of work.
And I'm sure that when this comes back in on the 3rd,
That's really not exactly what the scope is.
well, anyway, was this,
Touch on that today.
when you open the bids on December 3rd, I'm sure it'll come to the 10th meeting for us to,
Yes.
Yes.
okay, good.
Our recommendation.
Yeah.
Any other questions?
Will they have to drain that tank?
Yes, 30 days. Get them all.
Okay, 30 days. Well, you'll tell us about that all on the meeting of the 10th.
I'll try to agree.
No problem.
Anyone else?
I'll make a motion to accept the staff and billing reports as presented.
Second.
Moved and seconded. Any further discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Passes 5-0. We've already had the recess. Treasurer's report.
Yeah, my written report, our cash right now is at 3.7 million. That's basically where it's been standing for the last couple months. It's down just a little bit from historical standards, just due to the fact that we did pay off that one debt of $500,000 early. So that's one of the reasons why.
When did we pay that?
We paid that off 2 months ago, I think.
Okay, because you said last month and I couldn't.
Oh, sorry. Yeah, a couple months ago. Sorry.
Okay.
Operational standpoint, service fees right on budget, but consumption is lagging behind the budget estimates. If you want to turn to page 131, kind of giving you guys some consumption estimates based on historical standards, based on our budgeted amounts. So right now we are lagging behind budget, and if our budget numbers continue through the November through June, we're going to still be $250,000. So that's from a consumption standpoint, we're already lagging behind budget for this 3-4 month period, $250,000. That's where a bulk of our consumption revenue comes from. So the likelihood of us staying on budget through these winter months is probably pretty good, just because it's normal consumption, not based on outside watering. But it would be nice if we kind of popped it up at the end of the month at those May and June months. But we're definitely going to be down this year based on just the conservation. You've seen George's numbers. If you're having people cut back 18% to 30%, they're cutting back their consumption revenue. We're cutting back our consumption revenue too. So that's something we're going to definitely have to take into consideration when we're looking at rates and how we're going to recoup those dollars that we are losing due to the conservation.
When would if we raise rates, when would we do that?
We're going to look at those coming up very shortly. One of the things we were waiting on was an answer from the revolving fund if we needed to have an outside estimation or an outside agency kind of confirm our rates and when those rates needed to go into effect to make sure that we were able to secure that debt. And the answer was we didn't need an outside agency and we didn't need to have some type of historical basis to show that those rates, if based on our estimates and based on our
we submit the package.
Yeah, we submit the package, and if we kind of have that proof that we are going to have the rates to absorb that debt, then they'll basically all it's going to hold up is a reimbursement for construction costs. So, but as soon as we can get this in, we can actually I believe we can get reimbursed for engineering services based on the project. So, but I'm not holding up the package financially. It's not being held up. There's still a lot of other hoops we got to jump through before it's completed.
What would be the earliest date?
That we get
for the Prop 218?
Yeah.
Probably looking at a May implementation would be probably the earliest.
So you're backing up.
Because Marysville,
45 days.
Marysville said they couldn't raise their rates until January of 2016, I think.
It must be the timeline that their outside agencies getting their study done.
Wow.
Outside agency studies obviously are not cheap, but they take a long time too.
Well, we can't raise the rates until we get approval on that 218, right?
That's what he's talking about.
Yeah.
Going through that
I
process.
realize that.
Yeah.
Now, you were mentioning out of the construction costs, are we going to be able to reimburse the capacity fee for the $1 million that we're taking out of it for the plans?
Correct.
Or is that what
we can, it's a board decision if you wanted to use the capacity fees and draw them all the way down and only borrow the net cost associated with that, or do you want to borrow the complete amount and then use those capacities for additional projects associated with maybe that increased capacity? The thing is, you're just getting the borrowing funds that you're going to be able to get are just at historically low interest rates. And the thing is, they used to only limit you to 20 years, and they've now increased that to a 30-year borrowing. So you can actually stretch that borrowing out even further now for that. And your first payment's not due until 1 year after the project is complete.
Yeah. But we would borrow the money because the contractor is going to want to be paid off before that.
Oh, yeah. You have to have borrowings to pay your contractor, yeah.
And we would have that.
But they said that basically you don't have to go out for a bridge financing, what we were looking at, to maybe if the lag between the reimbursement and the expense. They said that most all of their people out there, the reimbursement is quick enough that you actually have the money in time to pay the contractor. So it's not like each month.
I realize we'd be waiting for the AECom to give their plans, and they said when we bid it, it'd be next summer, or spray or whatever. Are we still looking at something like 10 mil?
That's what.
No numbers right now.
I mean,
we're just going off what was there. There's been
Well,
no change.
you know, I mean, but you got to get something, and that's what the knowledgeable people told us.
right, yeah.
But the
It's
knowledgeable
expensive.
people also told us 2 million, so we shouldn't talk about
Well, but that was a long time ago. 2.5.
Gonna get a new one?
Right.
Bigger.
Okay. Anybody else? Any other?
Me and George did go down to Sacramento and had a LAIF meeting. It was a productive meeting. They basically go through kind of what LAIF is looking at. LAIF, Local Agency Investment Fund, they invest for all special districts. The state of California, they're enormous pool. I think they might be one of the largest state investment pools in the nation. Basically, they give kind of the standard, your money's safe here, you know, you're not going to lose it. The rates are just not there. There's just no rates coming out of any type of pooled money funds out there. They did kind of give a little brief talk on how the state of California health-wise is, but it's looking much better. They're happy with the rainy day fund and for the reserving for those rocky times, and so it was a productive meeting. That came out of it.
This all had to do with the dollar side of it, but perhaps bringing Dustin in involved on it. Will we have knowledgeable by that time of what Prop 1 opportunities we have for going after money? Will we have the knowledge then of what we can do?
At what time?
For Prop 218 process?
No, nothing to do with
For the
218.
recycle project.
When you go to get the
I was
loan?
told that it was in the law that we passed, for Prop 1, that for districts of our type there was 5 mil, several mil for different kinds of projects. Would we have an idea what kind of projects they were talking about?
Oh, I could give you a summary of that.
Yeah, if you
know,
could give
in a
me a
week.
summary of it, I'd appreciate it.
Yeah, it's all in the statute.
It's all in the statutes, but was that before or after we passed it? Well,
It was
we
in
passed
the
then
it was in the
statutes
ballot
were-
pamphlet.
I understand.
So, and then it passed.
All right.
Kevin, that meeting with Leif.
Anybody, any other directors have a question for the treasurer? No? Okay,
Ask-
Motion.
public?
Go ahead.
For one quick thing that I learned when I was down in Los Alamos, when we had to curtail to our customers, and we had to raise our rates to them because we weren't selling as much water. The minute the water became available, it became a political nightmare because consumption went back up and prices stayed up instead of coming down with consumption. So be very careful how you word, if we've got a 10% cutback now and we have to charge more because of it, if you do it that way, when our consumption goes back up and they're still paying that higher rate, these guys up here are going to get all kinds of stones, and she's going to have a nightmare dealing with trying to just put it to the construction or whatever, but try to be very careful on that because they're going to want their money back when consumption goes back up and you're making more money. And there was recall elections in Santa Barbara County over it.
Thank you.
Kevin, the Leif meeting, did they give you any idea of what they're primarily investing in?
It's most of it's Fed Treasury stuff.
How much California bonds?
I don't remember. I can look it up though.
See, I've been worried about that. That
We don't have much money
they're
in
pumping
there.
a lot of money back into California bonds.
Yeah, before they were doing these short-term loans to a lot of districts, but they primarily they really have switched to short-term investments because the rates just aren't there to really lock anything up for any time. So,
Less than half of a,
I think it's 0.23 or 24%.
right, yeah, less than half of a 0.5%. I know,
Someone make a motion?
Cal has
I'll make a motion to accept the treasurer's
he's gonna give him some information.
CDs, it just has treasuries. Treasuries are at 56%. They have loans at 1.8, commercial paper at 7.2, time deposits at 9, CDs and bank notes at 18, agencies at 7.5. So I'm wondering if the agencies are the California probably. So they're not heavily in that side. They had a good slide though that talked about where they were, and that's not the one where they were in last year, where they were this year, and it's just been this huge shift to the Treasury side of the
7.5%, is that what you're talking about?
7.5% of their full fund.
Oh, their fund is,
the agencies,
right.
meaning California, probably California agencies, but 56% are in U.S. Treasuries.
Are they able to loan us money at 1.7%?
That's all bond money that they're out selling bonds, taking that money and then shifting it back out. The geo bond, see, if you're investing low, it means you're borrowing low too. So what they do on the state revolving fund is they take these revenue anticipation bonds that they sell normally twice a year. They're selling 3 times this year, and they take that rate and they double it, and that's how they set the rate. So if it's at 1.7, it means they're selling those revenue anticipation notes at like, what is that? 0.8%. So that's what they're.
Why would you buy a 0.8% bond?
Because you can't, because you're getting 0.25 on anything else.
Oh, okay.
They're short-term bonds.
Yeah,
short-term. They're 6-month bonds, right?
Yeah,
To a year.
Normally they're 6 to a year, and I think they might sell them in tranches. But a 1-year bond out there with any type of security, you're not even getting that 1% on it. It's nothing.
You're not even keeping up with inflation, huh?
It's because the 30-day T-bill is paying 0%.
Oh, wow.
Okay.
I'll invest now.
I'm glad I'm not a bond trader.
I'll take the motion.
Okay. I'm going to make a motion to accept the treasurer's report as presented.
I'll second that.
Moved and seconded. Any further discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? Passes 5-0. Approval of the October checks. Do you, let's start with SEP.
I have nothing on there.
You have nothing. Okay. Ken.
Pass.
Doug.
I just have one question for curiosity. For the
Give us the page
Oakwood
number.
Page?
Okay, yeah, 145 Hertz equipment rental for the Oakwood pipeline project, I guess. We rented an excavator for $3,219. How often do we have to do that, George? Very seldom.
We do it for efficiency, and it really depends on the road.
Yeah.
That was
So you,
a narrow spot, so we're able to work on one side of the road using an excavator that you can't get away with using a
backhoe.
backhoe.
That was really understanding this thing. How many hours was that? You know?
I don't know. You wouldn't even believe the rates we get. We get them under some kind of government contract rates,
They're cheap.
and they're really cheap.
Yeah, that's just curious.
Yeah.
Anything else?
That's it.
Bill?
Just a little one, 21,741.
What page?
It's on page 136.
No. What vendor then? You're looking
Well,
at the.
Sutton, Dustin should know. 21, isn't that right, Dustin? 21,741.
Who's the person?
Huh? It's Dustin.
Oh, the legal.
It's an
Okay.
attorney.
What
Not
about it?
Dustin, it's the firm he works for.
I don't think PID paid me for 2 months.
Oh, they didn't pay you for 2 months? Is that what that is?
Is it? I don't know. I actually don't know.
Plus we just finished up labor negotiations. Emily, we had
Dustin, did I hear you correctly? That
we had three lawyers working for us at once, I think.
That was for the water right fees, though.
Oh, that's what I say.
The bulk of that 21 is a lot of labor negotiations.
Oh, okay. I thought maybe it was.
Time back and forth.
On page 137.
You're doing the recap, so you got to give us the vendor name.
Vendor name is Foothill Mill and Lumber,
Okay.
page 137.
Yeah, but you're doing the summary. We need the other one. Where is Foothill?
What, the check number?
We're almost there. One more.
And it's 101514.
Go one more.
Where's it at? On what
There you
page?
go. Down at the bottom.
137.
Actually, you gotta go back to 144. There you go.
144.
$172.
No, it's 172.21.
I'm sorry, I left out the 21 cents.
Your question is?
What's the question?
Oh, I was wondering why we bought it all the way down to Chico to Meeks, and then when Foothill's in here. But we've definitely been spreading our Meeks is over on another page. I just wondered why we were spreading from Chico Yards and traveling time and everything.
Marshall
for such
doesn't-
small amount.
Marshall doesn't carry a whole lot of stuff. I can answer that. Doesn't carry a whole lot of stuff, and his pricing.
And if we order it from Meeks, generally it's delivered here.
Yeah.
Oh, even for the
If we need a small
$27?
amount, we run up there and get it.
You use Foothill as much as you can, and that's grid local.
Absolutely.
No, we don't use anything as much as we can. We use our purchasing policy.
Yes.
So if it makes sense to buy it in town, we buy it in town, and if it makes sense to buy it in Chico, we buy it in Chico.
We bought all those.
We'd love to buy local, but our policy has nothing in it about buying local. It's about pricing.
Right, I understand that. Anything else, Bill?
Oh, wait a minute, I did mark some other things. Oh, here, meetings, on page 151.
151?
There's a whole set of conference and meetings, U.S. Bank Corporate Payment System.
Yep.
Conference and meetings.
That's all for travel to Palm Springs, and I can tell you every single one of them, but most of them, a lot of that's travel for the Palm Springs travel, and if there was any other conferences that we were signing up for this week.
Now, in the future, that's going to show up on the director's thing, huh?
On the directors, it will, yeah.
Yeah, but and staff too now, or no? You guys were going to?
No.
Okay.
We have been reporting, and we'll continue to report in our memos what the estimated cost of travel is.
Yes, I know. I just was wondering
What
nothing. That's the closest we've got to
Did we?
anything from
I think what he's
Palm
asking
Springs.
is Ken's. Where did Ken's stuff go?
Ken's incorporated in there.
And some of Ken's is on there, because I paid for some of Ken's stuff on my card, like the conference cost.
But it didn't go to director's expenses. Huh?
Got reimbursed for his outside expenses.
But you can go to director's expense? This is conference and meetings office.
Yeah, it will go to director's expense.
Oh, okay. That's it, Bill?
Yep.
Okay, let's see, on mine, what did I have here? Aqua, that's 67,000. What period of time is that? On 141.
The 67, that's for what period?
Yeah, how long, is that 1 year or the medical, is that 1 month or one?
1 month.
1 month, okay.
That's every
I was
month.
afraid of that. Yeah. Then on the next one, we bought a bandsaw from Algas? It's Al.
Air gas.
Air gas, Chico. I buy a lot of products from Air Gas. So. They sell, I just didn't think of them as selling equipment. Yeah. And then this is our Aqua thing, is our $1,070 a month, right? Okay. The other, I see we're buying more aluminum, $4,000 worth.
Say what's
Yeah, that's for clarity, isn't it? Yeah. We use that aluminum sulfide for clarity of water.
Which one?
Aluminum sulfide. It gives us our aluminum problem, but it's for
Coagulants.
clarity.
Yep.
Right. Yeah. Okay, that's all I have. I entertain a motion.
Okay.
Don't consider.
I'll make a motion for approval of general fund check numbers 46958 through 47159 for the month of October 2014, totaling $560,795.81, exclusive of voided check numbers 47009 to 47038, 47053, 47090, and authorization of similar amount allowing or adjusting for extraordinary budget or board-approved items during the month of November.
Yeah.
There's got to be a shorter version of that.
I'll second it. Been moved and seconded. Any further discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Passes 5-0. Director's comment. Sep.
I'm out of them.
You're out of them. Okay.
I used them all up tonight.
Well, that's putting it on the agenda. That did it good, huh? Okay.
No, I have no director comments this
Okay.
this
You're
month.
not going to do any
Campaigning?
Campaigning?
Guess not.
Okay.
Free Paradise Lake sign and shirt, t-shirts. You can start throwing them out.
Right.
Free Paradise Lake.
Right.
I have no director's comments.
Bill.
I want to thank the board for listening to me about the wetlands and giving it due consideration.
Let's see, what was I wanted to thank your cohort for her work. And I guess we won't need her again until 19, huh? 2000.
4 years, 3 years?
3 years, yeah. Is she going to still be with you, I hope? Good. Okay. She did a very good job.
I hope I'm still there.
You don't even know if you're going to be there, huh? Okay. Well, I wanted to thank her because she did a bang-up job.
Good, thank you.
Okay, we're adjourned.
Emily did a great job, that's for sure.
Get rid of the layers.